Welcome to RotoWire Fantasy Football Live, the start, sit, show, week 16, fantasy semifinals week. Appreciate everybody hanging out with me. It's always great to have wonderful football minds like yourselves in here going over these great start, sit questions that we all have. Let me turn the camera on a little bit. There we go. Okay, so first of all, remember, we are talking about the idea of fantasy semis. You have made it this far. It's a really important piece, and you have gotten there because of your knowledge of fantasy football. When you ask me a question, I'll give you the probability play. I'll try to give you the upside and downside case for players. But ultimately, you've gotten to this point. Trust your gut. If something confirms what I say for what you say, perfect. If it goes against it, default to your gut if it's an opposition. But remember, just look, confirmation is the best thing you want here, okay? Again, there's a probability shoot. We try to put you on the good side of probability and get more right than we get wrong. All right, we got a few super chats. We're going to get those first. Get these first here. And Thomas, thank you. All right, so you got your league uses tight ends as a receiver. That being said, you need to fill a running back and a flex between McBride, Mostert, Hall, Swift, Ingram, or London. Wow, that is a loaded question. Running back and a flex. London has been great at home. I'm not really worried about the Taylor Heineke from Desmond Ridder move. London gets about at least 67 yards in each home game since week one. Week one, he didn't have a target, but he's been great otherwise. Ingram, I love the matchup. I mean, Nozay Jones, Christian Kirk's been out. Tampa is like a sieve in the middle of the field. Last week, the matchup was terrible for Ingram, but they really are going to need him here. My guess is with Dean and Carlton Davis active, they probably make it a little tougher on Ridley. So it's got to be an Ingram day. Swift, he loses those goal line carries. So it's just like a lot of carries for yards, but he doesn't really get much in the receiving game. Really tough to see him scoring touchdowns. Breece Hall, I got Simeon. And I don't know what the screen pass is going to look like. That's going to be problematic. As a run, every team stacks the box on them, and they want them to win the passing game, and they can't. So Mostert, boom bust play, because Dallas last week, they got gashed with a downhill running game. Well, this is outside zone, and Dallas's linebackers are pretty fast. So there's a chance that they can stand up to them. McBride, great play. Every week he gets targets. Chicago's been playing great on defense, but he is like their top receiver. No Marquise Brown. So all that said, you need a running back and a flex. Your running backs of the three, I probably say of the three, Mostert has the best combination of floor and ceiling. The highest floor play is Swift, because against the Giants, it is a good matchup. So Swift is a great floor play. He just hasn't shown a ceiling. And then in your other one, it's tough to trust tight ends, but I really believe that Ingram has the highest ceiling. But I believe London is the safest play because of his home splits, and they play better. Atlanta plays better home. So London's a safe play. Ingram is your boom bust play. McBride is firmly in play here because of his high volume. Maybe McBride's floor is equal with London's. London probably has a better chance of scoring a touchdown here. So where's that? All right, Thomas, you had another super chat question. Merry Christmas to you as well. Defense, you have the Colts. And the Colts are at Atlanta. Again, Atlanta plays better at home, so I don't like that as much. Colts do get pressured greatly better. They've improved. Cleveland or the Eagles. The Eagles just worry me because they have a great opponent, but they aren't playing well. Cleveland's on the road, but they're playing a backup quarterback. And that man defense. And Nico Collins is not 100%. No full practices. I got to go with Cleveland here. Even on the road, got to go with Cleveland. All right, another super chat question here. Jay. PPR need 3. Jahmyr Gibbs, yes, boom or bust. That's what he's been the last 4 weeks, right? Bijan, big coach concerns. Jonathan Taylor, the injury was the thumb. So in terms of running and conditioning, not concerned right now. Now, he could lose some receiving upside here, which they throw to him. So there's that, but not quite. And that one we're not going to be sure of. Raheem Mostert, and you're right. I just talked about the outside zone scheme. And and the Dallas speed of linebackers, not last week's Buffalo game where they got Cook going downhill. So, Gibbs is a tougher matchup too. Minnesota's good against receiving backs. Bijan, the matchup would look great over the last month, but we remember that Grover Stewart came back 2 weeks ago. The first week back, he looked rusty. Last week, that run defense with him on the field was back. So now it's tough. I'm giving, so here's how we're going to play them up here. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. Which one are you sitting? All right. I would be inclined. I'm starting Gibbs and I'm starting Taylor. Those two I'm starting. Of the other two, Bijan Robinson actually has a higher floor than Mostert in this one, because we could see a game where Mostert gets shut down. But Mostert, if that running game gets cooking, has a higher ceiling than Bijan, because he could go off for a couple long runs. So Bijan is, if you want the floor play, if you want to go boom bust in that third spot, then it's Mostert. Appreciate you, man. All right, another super chat question. See what else. So we got Thomas, we got Jay, Lucius Varina, sit one, Henry, Swift, Rashi, Rice. All right, Henry, other than last week, has been very good at home. Seattle's not a great run defense, but my guess is Pete Carroll probably has them stack up the box a little bit and try to make Tannehill beat them. So there's a little bit of concerns there. Swift, you heard me say earlier, Swift has a higher floor than Henry, but he doesn't really get the red zone usage because we see Jalen Hurts steal that. So Rice is the one I'm playing for sure. And of the other two, here's how you're looking at it. If you want a high floor play, it's Swift. But Henry, we saw last week, it's problematic if the teams load up on him. So, but Henry still has multiple touchdown upside. So Henry's your boom bust play, but Swift if you want those safe points. Goddard or Kmet at tight end. Kmet's cleared to play, but he's not 100%. Goddard has been just a floor play. Goddard should get you 8 to 10 points, and you should be in good shape there. Kmet has multi-touchdown upside, but if his injury is problematic, so Kmet's your boom bust. If you need 20 points out of your tight end, Goddard probably not even getting that. But Kmet has a low floor because I don't know how the injury concern really is. Goddard's safe, and Kmet is if you got to swing for defense. But if you want to take the layup, it's Goddard. SB super chat question: need two of these three, Pierce, Wicks, or Michael Wilson? Michael Wilson probably is going to see a lot of Jalen Johnson. And for me, that's a no-go. Now, I don't think the Bears shadow him, but even a half the snaps are on Jalen Johnson. He's playing so well. And the Bears are playing great defense at home. Wicks is healthy enough to play. And Wicks has been a great floor play. So I'm going with him. Alec Pierce, he plays 94% of the snaps, 3 to 6 targets. They can unlock him downfield, and they did a couple games ago, and they can here. I would be more inclined to play Alec Pierce over Michael Wilson because that Bears matchup is not as easy as it looks. And all right, so we got you there. And then one more super chat. C-Dog, Purdy or Mahomes? All right, Mahomes had one 20-point fantasy game in like the last 5 weeks. It came against the Raiders. So there's that. There's a good matchup for him. They're at home. They played the Raiders already. Mahomes, I think, has a safer floor than Purdy. We really don't know what we're getting from Baltimore. I assume the 49ers will be fine, but they could come up with some creative post-snap movement, and Purdy could have some struggles there. So I see Purdy as the boom-bust play, because if the Ravens click, it could be a down game, but if the 49ers are just so much better, then Purdy rolls up his 3 touchdowns and you're good. Mahomes is way safer here. I don't think Mahomes has big upside because he hasn't had all year other than like one game. So Mahomes is safe. Purdy's your boom-bust play. That's how I'm looking at that. But you need to go safe. It's Mahomes. And then Ridley or Amari. I'm going to Amari. Amari is like he and Njoku. They are the guys for Flacco. And even in the game where Cooper had 3 for 36, he got hurt in that game. And he would have had a big game. He's getting crazy target volume. Houston, not an issue. Against number 1 receivers, Houston struggles. Ridley's been too hard to trust. Cooper's floor is higher than Ridley. Their ceilings are similar. Therefore, I default to Amari. Thanks for those super chat questions. All right, let's get rolling here. All right, see what we got here. Yeah, we got a good old bunch. A lot of good people here today. All right, let's get rolling. Let's get to the questions and start from there. Okay, Matthew, morning to you as well. Tua or Trevor? So the Dallas matchup would be interesting. We've seen very good defenses take away things from Tua over the last couple of years, and he's had monumental struggles in those games. Dallas, I think, has the coaching and the personnel to be able to do that, disrupt the timing of the receivers, get quick pressure. That could be a problem. I think Trevor Lawrence has a much safer floor here. I think in this matchup, Trevor Lawrence, Tampa Bay, look, Dean and Carlton Davis are healthy. They're not covering this year. It's not been a good year for them pass defense-wise. And I don't think ETN's going to have a good running game here. So he hasn't done well. The blocking's been awful. And Tampa's good enough against the run. So I think Trevor has a higher floor. Tua's your boom-bust play. Because if they figure it out against Dallas and Dallas can't figure them out, then Tua could have that upside game. But Tyreek Hill's less than 100%, so we really don't know the issue there. Trevor's safer. Tua's your ceiling play. You have to sit with a Mostert, Walker, Pacheco. DJ Moore or Mike Evans. That's a tough one. You know, I might be inclined to sit Pacheco, and here's why. He's coming off the shoulder surgery. He's back. But is he 100%? Is Clyde Edwards-Helaire going to get extra work? If the Chiefs get off to a big lead, are they going to rest Pacheco a little bit? Concerned to too much uncertainty with that. There's a good chance the Chiefs have a lead in this game. That's my reasoning behind sitting Pacheco. J Red, Eagles or Ravens defense. I could see a world where the 49ers don't get sacked, don't turn the ball over, and they score 35 points. Give me the Eagles. Does it happen with the Ravens? Maybe not. But, man, they're in a bad spot here. Remember, the Ravens got shredded by the Rams, 31 points a couple weeks ago. This isn't the Rams. This is the 49ers. Ethan, good morning to you. You need one to flex. One running back, one flex. Half point. Achane, Madison, Singletary, Waller, Zamir White. The problem with Zamir White's going to be it's a Monday game, and we don't know what Jacobs has. It looks like he may not play, but that's going to be a game-time decision on a Monday. There's only a couple games after that. There's only 2 games after that, so that's going to be problematic for you. You can always pivot to Waller on that one. But, all right, so all that said, Madison we're ruling out. He's not 100%. The coach already said that Chandler's in the lead here, and Detroit's a great run defense. Singletary, he's going to get some volume, but Cleveland's playing very well against the run. Achane, again, Dallas might do okay against outside zone run, but I think Achane is your floor play of those 3 because he should get double-digit touches, should see some receiving work. Singletary might get a little more volume, but I think his matchup's a little bit worse. So I'm going to go with Achane at running back. And, again, the Zamir White, the problem is going to be it's a Monday game. And we're not going to hear word on Jacobs until then. So that kind of rules it out. And then for your other one, here's what we'll do. We're going to say Waller played limited snaps last week, and he still had 4 for 40. And the matchup against Philly is pristine. So we're going to go with Waller. His snap share should increase this week. But if we find out, since that's the second game, you'll find out if Zamir White's active early. If Zamir White is active for his game, Zamir White will have a great floor ceiling combo. You'll play White, and if Jacobs is active, then you'll just pivot to Waller, who plays in the mid-afternoon game. That'll be it. Ethan, need one. Michael Wilson, Wandale, Mingo, Wicks, or Pierce. Given this scenario, Wandale's real boom bust. It's a great matchup, but you never know who DeVito's going to get the ball to. It might be Jalen Hyde. It might be Darius Slayton. It might be Darren Waller. It might be Wandale. Wandale had the 100-yard games. Was it 2 games ago? Between rushing and receiving. Risky. Mingo will get a lot of targets, we know, but Green Bay is a little better on the outside than the inside. Wicks is less than 100%, but Wicks is in a spot where he doesn't get the focus of the defense. He's been productive every time he plays. Alec Pierce is risky. Michael Wilson will see some Jalen Johnson, and that's going to be a real bad one. I'm inclined to go with a less than 100% Wicks here. The boom bust play is Wandale. That's your boom bust. Because he could go off, but he could have a low floor, whereas Wicks should have a reliable floor for you. Have another super chat question from Justin, Fabian, Justiniano. I'm sorry, Justin, Fabian. I can't get the words out here. Fabian's in the house. So Fabian needs 2 receivers: Romeo Doubs, Dotavian Wicks, Demario Douglas, or Josh Downs. So Josh Downs has been playing, from a fantasy perspective, not well lately. They indicated that knee injury he had weeks ago was back to the OTAs. And even last week when Pittman was out, he wasn't a focus of the offense. Right now, we just got to say he's not in the circle of trust. And Demario Douglas, though, is a high floor PPR guy. And Denver, you can use the slot to attack them. So I think he has good floor for you. Between Dobbs and Wicks, outside corner is a good spot for the Carolina Panthers. And Dobbs hasn't had 40 yards in 4 of his last 5 games. And so Dobbs is probably a better player than Wicks, but his assignment for Wicks is going to be easier than Dobbs. I'm going to give Wicks a 51-49 edge on Dobbs. Trust your gut there. And Demario Douglas be the other one. DJ Montgomery, I did tweet this morning, but too risky. I don't think he's that good of a player, but opportunity's king. But compared to your other options, I think it's – now Parker Washington. I would play Parker Washington. I would play Parker Washington. I would probably play him over Wicks, but he's riskier. Middle of the field is where you want to attack in this game. Tampa Bay can't cover the middle of the field. And that to me is a Parker Washington game. But that said, Wicks would have a higher floor because we know what we're getting. But I think Washington's going to see targets here. So he's riskier, but I think he has some real ceiling potential here. All right. D. Herberger, Achane or Hall in the flex. Trevor Siemian's going to be throwing the passes here, and that gets me a little nervous. I'll tell you the truth, because I don't know that he gets the screen passes to Hall the way he needs them. Now, that might be a problem. And because that's what he's counting on. Defenses oversell a box on him to stop him because they don't trust the passing game. I'm going to give Achane the edge here because I think his floor is better than Hall's, and Achane will see targets. And I think he's more likely to score a touchdown as well. So there's that. All right. Ethan, likely Waller, Singletary, half point. Singletary has the highest floor because of volume. Not excited about the matchup. Waller has a similar floor based on the limited snaps last week, the production, the easy matchup. The floor is Singletary, the safest floor. Not a super high floor, but it's a floor. I like Waller's blend of floor and upside against Philly because I do believe it's a great, great matchup for him. So there's that. Likely, look, he's been playing well the last couple of weeks. 49ers are not the greatest matchup for tight ends. Tight ends have produced against them. Tight ends have gotten yardage when they've gotten targets. But that said, I just think Waller at this stage being healthier is a little better of a play. So that's how I'd frame that one. Vinny, good morning to you. Purdy or Mayfield? The inactives are going to come out in about 20 minutes. If Jacksonville is without either Tyson Campbell, the corner, or Andre Sisco, the free safety, Mayfield's stock goes up a little bit. Overall, Jacksonville hasn't been terrible against the pass. Purdy, it's a risky one because there's a world where he shreds Baltimore. And I mentioned earlier, there's a world where they just do whatever they want. Baltimore with those light boxes, but there's a risk reward with Purdy because McCaffrey could get going, right? And they may not lean on him. But Mayfield is risky too because if it's one of those games where Josh Allen gets going with pressure, Mayfield has problems with that, but then Jacksonville's pass rush is not consistent. So that said, I believe Mayfield has a solid floor here, but I'm trusting Purdy more because I think Purdy's floor is similar, and I think Purdy has real ceiling here. Baker, look at his yardage totals. I mean, last week was great, but the other weeks, not always there. And it's against some middling opponents. Steve, point per completion league, Fields or Lawrence? Yeah, the completion, that definitely helps you. 6 points. You know what? Fields, when he's faced weak opponents earlier in the season, Denver, Washington, went for like 30 fantasy points a game. Arizona's that. There cannot be a better matchup for Fields than there is. And Lawrence has not been a high volume fantasy option this year. I don't know that Lawrence has that much more of a floor than Fields because Fields is going to run here too. Personally, I give Fields the edge 60-40. Fields could have a monster game, and I don't think his floor is so low that it's like, oh, that's scary. I don't think there's a scary floor. That's why I would kind of lean Fields. Vinny, Swift or Ridley in the flex? Swift has a higher floor. Ridley has the potential for the boom bust game. We know Ridley can get taken away, but we know when they scheme him up, they get him in bunches, they get him in motion, which they don't always do. They don't do it nearly enough, but when they do, very hard to stop. So if you want a safe floor of about 10 points, Swift's your guy. If you're willing to risk one of those nothing games for a potential 20-25, Ridley's that boom bust guy for you there. So you got to think about it that way. Barkley, Swift, or Hubbard? Hubbard's the volume king for sure. Green Bay is not a scary matchup at all. Hubbard has a higher floor than Swift. Barkley, look, as a receiver, he could get it done here. We've seen Barkley have some real good games in bad situations and then some real rough games. If you want the very, very safe 12 to 14 points, it's Hubbard. Maybe a little more. But if you need the ceiling play against a tough run defense, Barkley still has a chance of getting it done here. And it's going to be, and you got to ask yourself this question. If you go down today with Barkley on your bench, are you willing to be good with that? And that's a real important question because Barkley hasn't played badly. He hasn't had all great games, but Hubbard hasn't had all great games either. So personally, I believe Barkley gets it done as a receiver here, and I lean Barkley. But if your gut says Hubbard, I get it. Happy holidays to you and your family as well. Thank you. Steve, if you hit the like and subscribe button, appreciate on a free RotoWire subscription. A couple days behind the paywall, rotowire.com/Jim. Check us out. Hopefully you like it, become part of the team. We'd love to have you. Steve, PPR, need one of these. Wicks, Douglas, Washington, Gibson, looking for a solid 10+ points. So, man, the Parker Washington matchup is just so good, but he's Parker Washington, right? We still don't know what we're getting out of him, but he has a good chance of scoring. He has a good chance of getting 6 targets in this game. Douglas has a floor, but that floor is like 8-ish points. Douglas is the most reliable floor of these guys. Gibson not getting a lot of rushing work. That'll be Chris Rodriguez. He's getting his 4 to 5 targets, but he has to make something happen with them. And so there's that. And the Jets aren't the best matchup. So I think Douglas has the safest floor of this group, and I like Wicks. But I think Washington, he's risky. And so if you don't want the risk, then you probably don't play Washington. But I could see Washington going for 65 yards with a chance of scoring a touchdown here. I think he has more ceiling than Douglas. But Douglas is a safer floor play. Steven, happy holidays to you as well. Thank you. Quarterback, 4 points for TD. Goff or pick up start Baker off the waivers. It's going to be tricky with Goff. Goff had 2 really good road games. We talk about road Goff all the time. Tampa Bay, big game. Chargers, big game. The way I worry about Minnesota, it's in a dome at least, so there's that. Goff last week, we didn't like him at Chicago because cold weather and that narrative, and that panned out. In a dome, but Goff against pressure is problematic. And Brian Flores is going to be bringing the blitz from any which way. He lines them all up front. You don't know who's dropping, who's coming, and Goff is hyper sensitive to pressure. If Brian Johnson, the offensive coordinator, has the key for this, Goff may be fine. I think Baker is a safer floor. Goff could have a big game, but the lineup of this game does not look optimal. So I would personally give Baker a 52-48 edge here. And then defense, Ravens. I love Chicago here. Chicago has been playing so much better on defense and getting Montez Sweat. Everybody's playing faster. And that's been great for them. And they figured some things out. In Arizona, compromised opponent. Road game for Arizona. I like the Bears here. I could see, again, I said before, I could see the Ravens not getting a point. I could see it. Will it happen? I don't know. But that's solidly in the range of outcomes. Trey, happy holidays to you. Geno or Baker. I like Geno here. Look, Tennessee is all kinds of beat up on defense. And I know they might get an opportunity to run the ball well here too. This could be a game where they score quite a few points. They have advantages at the receiver position. Corners are that whole defense is banged up. I looked at the injury report. They are missing legitimately in the beginning of the season, 6 or 7 starters. I think Seattle could score a ton of points. Now, Seattle on the road, do we trust them? Baker, though, it's kind of similar here, right? Baker's at home here, though. Jacksonville matchup, not the best. It's a 51-49 Geno call because I just think they can have their way with Tennessee. This isn't going to be a letdown game of any sort. Tennessee's not a team you come in and say, we got this one. And they have to win for playoffs. I give Geno the slightest of edges here. Trey, half PPR, consider Roshan over Ridley. So Roshan sees a more prominent role when the Bears need pass protection. Arizona has no pass rush. So I could see Khalil Herbert being the lead guy, and there may not be a lot of situations where pass protection is an issue. I have Singletary. The problem with Jacobs is it's a Monday game, and we don't know if he's playing. And so you're going to be left holding the bag because your other 3 options are Sunday games. So that's the only reason we're leaving Jacobs out. If you get firm word Jacobs is playing, then he's in. Otherwise, Singletary has a higher floor than Roshan. Ridley's your boom bust. Like I said, they get him in motion. They get him in stacks. He could go off here, but we haven't seen it enough. We've seen too many games in good matchups. They don't use him. Ridley is low floor, but he does have a real tangible ceiling possible. Singletary's your floor play. I would not put Roshan over them. We just never know week to week with the roles, but I think the pass pro won't be needed, so his role could be lessened. And they also are unlikely to be trailing the Bears. So now they're probably not going to have to be dumping the ball off. Kevin Keller, happy holidays to you as well. Baker or Lamar Jackson? This is where I'm not going to get too cute. When you look back at Baker's numbers, even the Atlanta game, he found a way to get 3 touchdowns. But man, the yardage was rugged. And those touchdowns are fickle. And Rachaad White could run some in. I'm not going to get too cute here. Lamar Jackson doesn't have a great matchup. But Lamar Jackson has a floor because he's going to run. He's going to have to run. Now, can they stop in the running game? Maybe they can. I can't go down with Lamar Jackson on my bench because this game could shoot out. Mayfield, the passing is not consistent. Jackson's floor has been stable. That tells me Jackson. Trust your gut there. You need 2 from Addison, Mostert, Gibson, Noah Brown, or Wilson. Noah Brown will face a lot of man coverage. Cleveland's one of 3 teams that plays around 45% man, and that's not good for Noah Brown. When he's against zone, he's much better. These corners are better than he is. The pass rush is very real, even though Cleveland's on the road. I don't like him. Michael Wilson, don't like him because he's going to see Jalen Johnson in probably at least half of the snaps, and that's a mismatch. And Michael Wilson hasn't shown a great chemistry with Kyler Murray because of lack of time. They haven't played together much. So that leaves you down to you need 2. So I'm going Addison and Mostert. They both have reasonable floors. They both have reasonable to great ceilings. Gibson, again, Chris Rodriguez to get early rushing. He'll take care of that. Gibson as a receiver. The Jets matchup isn't great. Can he break one? Yes. The odds of it are kind of small. I'm going to go Addison Mostert. Cherie, you need 1. Bijan or Mostert. It's a question of Dallas, right? Last week, the downhill running scheme got him. This week is more outside zone, speed-based running attack. Dallas has a chance here. Bijan is always something now. Indy, you look on paper, it's an easy matchup for him, but not Grover Stewart's back. The first week back, he was acclimating. He didn't play well, but last week against Pittsburgh couldn't run on him. And now, with him 2 weeks back, with him and DeForest Buckner in the middle, very hard to run on them. So I'm going to give Mostert the edge. They both have lower floors, but I think Mostert has a higher ceiling here. Mostert gets going. If Dallas can't keep up with that zone scheme, it could be a great game for him. I give him a 52-48 edge. It's close. Kevin, defense, Miami, Dallas, or Chicago. It's always tough to fade Dallas, but they are on the road. Dallas has vast upside, but they have real downside because if Miami offense figures them out and Dallas doesn't work it, then they might not be able to do anything. Dallas is your boom bust play. The Miami defense, I don't know if Zach Martin's playing, and we won't know until later in the day. That was a big one. Chicago, to me, they're playing so well at home, and Arizona is such a compromised opponent. I think Chicago is the safest play of them. They've been hawking the ball lately, too. That Miami-Dallas game can go so many ways, but the probability is the Bears have a higher floor than them. Schultz or Waller? Overall, Cleveland has been lights out against tight end, except Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram was used as a wide receiver in that game, so it doesn't count. Dalton Schultz, this is a bad matchup for him. So I'm going to lean Darren Waller. He should get more snaps this week, and the matchup is beautiful. All right. Cherie, you need 2. Connor, Monty, or Brown? You heard me talk about Brown a minute ago. Don't like man defense against him. Cleveland's corners, all 3 of them are better than Noah Brown. I'm going to go with the floor of Connor and Montgomery and call it a day. Brown had the great game last week. He had 2 goose eggs before that. It's not a good matchup for him. Don, either Achane or Ridley. Achane has a much higher floor. He has potential for ceiling. Again, we're not sure how that style makes fight things go. How's Dallas going to do against that speed? The offensive line's all kinds of banged up, but it might not matter. Ridley, we already know the drill. It's super boom bust. Are they going to put him in stacks? Are they going to get him in motion? And they haven't proven any consistency to doing that. Now, I do think Mario Puig on Sirius showed me yesterday, agree with him, Tampa probably puts a corner and shades of safety on him. Let Ingram beat us. Let Parker Washington beat us. Not Ridley. I think for that reason, Achane is probably a higher floor, and I will go with him for that reason. Ezra, Jones, Achane, or Ridley? Achane's in. I do believe Jones has a higher floor than Ridley, but we haven't seen the ceiling games. So Jones is going to probably get you about 10 points. Could get a little more, could find the end zone. But I think Ridley's your boom bust play. If you got to swing for a 20, I don't think Jones is getting that. There's a world where Ridley gets 20. There's also a world where he gets 4. So that's the boom bust. If you need this bank to save points, it's Jones, but I'm going to go with Achane. Ezra, Lamar, or Fields. Yeah, this one's really good. Look, I like Fields here. The matchup couldn't be better. Fields shredded bad opponents before his injury. Shredded them. 30 fantasy points. Washington, Denver at the time, who wasn't playing great yet. Arizona fits in that bag. Fields has a higher rushing floor than Lamar in this one. I think Fields has actually a higher passing ceiling. I'm giving Fields a 55-45 edge here. Ezra, Cleveland or the Eagles defense? I'm going to go with the more talented defense here. I'm going to go with Cleveland, even though they're on the road. Backup quarterback. Facing them. I'm going to give them the edge here. Jay Bleasy, flex Roschon, Downs, or Parker in Washington. Of these three, Roschon probably has a higher floor because he's going to play a number of snaps. Like I said with the pass protection thing earlier, and I don't change that thought. But Parker Washington has a ceiling here. Downs has been down lately. Like last month, he's been down. And they said the knee injury that he dealt with about a month ago, that one is back to OTAs. And last week couldn't have been a better matchup on the slot against Pittsburgh, yet he didn't cash. So right now, could he do it? Yes, but probability and recency show us that hasn't happened. There's a problem there. I think it's his knee. That's because he was great earlier in the season, but as the season went on, it looks like that knee got aggravated more, and now he's playing week after week. Washington has a good potential for ceiling, but he's Parker Washington. He's not established in the offense. Johnson is the floor play. Washington has a lower floor, but I think he does have real ceiling potential. If you got to swing for defense, I do believe Parker Washington could have a good game, but it's risky. Roschon's a little safer with obviously Deontay Foreman's out. So Ezra, Howell, Kyler, Flacco, or Wells. I'm ruling out Howell. Missing their left tackle, they're missing their center, and he got pulled last week. Could he get pulled again? It's very possible. Can't trust him. Flacco probably has the highest floor of this group. He's throwing 44 and 45 times in every game he's playing. He's got Cooper. He's got Njoku. And I don't think Houston could deal with either of them. Flacco's your floor guy. Believe that or not, I'm calling Joe Flacco a floor guy. Kyler, this is not a good matchup. And he hasn't played great. At Chicago, don't like the matchup. Mullins is your boom bust guy. Against the pass, could not ask for a better matchup than Detroit. But he's Nick Mullins. And so we know these backup quarterbacks. We saw it with Josh Dobbs. The bottom could fall out at any time. They could be exposed at any time. Flacco safe. Mullins is boom bust. Ray, full PPR with Madison playing, which he's playing, but Kevin O'Connell said he's going to be the backup. So it's going to be Chandler's backfield, Madison. And they also said Madison's not 100%. So Chandler is, based on what the coach said, Chandler is getting the work. Madison's a change of pace. So now Chandler's an awful matchup. Detroit is number 2 or number 3 in points allowed to running backs, fantasy points allowed to running backs. They are tough out. We saw what they did to Javonte Williams last week. Dude couldn't move. Demario Douglas has a higher floor than Chandler because he gets at 5-6 catches a game, right? But Chandler has running back volume going for his way. But again, we don't know how much Madison will be involved, and it's a bad matchup. So if Madison gets 30% of the work, 35% of the work, all of a sudden that floor of Chandler dries up. So I'd consider Chandler boom or bust. It's a bad matchup, but he looked really good last week. Maybe he gets going as a receiver, but they've been good against receiving backs as well. Chandler's your boom bust guy because there's going to be some volume there, and he could make something happen. Douglas is your safe floor guy. He's going to get that 5 or 6 catches. He's going to get you that 50 to 60 yards most likely. Middle of the field's okay against Denver. You definitely can get the middle of the field against them. Corners on the outside, a little less, but that's not his deal. So that's my answer there. Mike, good morning. Happy holidays to you. And you want to know Flacco or Mullins. Just answer it for someone else. I'm glad how perfect. Flacco's your floor play for the reasons I said. Mullins is your boom bust because, again, he could become Nick Mullins at any point in time. Pittman put you in a little hole with Diggs, 6 points. Yeah, Diggs, man, he's less than 10 PPR points. 5 of his last 6. Hasn't had a 100-yard game since week 6. It was week 16 now. You have Ferguson, Javonte, Dubs, or Spears. Spears has a good chance of being involved if Seattle goes way ahead, which is possible. That's when he does his best work. Dubs will have a rougher outside corner matchup. Carolina's good against outside receivers. Javonte has, if you thought last week's matchup against Detroit was bad, I think the one against New England might be worse. Ferguson is always risky with a tight end, but Miami gives you the middle of the field, and that's where Ferguson lives. I know there's risk with starting a tight end, but Ferguson be my choice. Spears, you're going to count on game script. If that game script doesn't happen and it becomes a Derrick Henry game, he's scripted out. Javonte probably gets the most volume, but again, it's a nightmare matchup. So Javonte, though, probably has the safest floor, and that might be 6 points, but he has the safest floor of this group. Ferguson, I believe, has enough of a floor and a potential for 70 yards, a potential over 40% of scoring a touchdown. So I look at it that way. Melly Matrix, half PPR, need one. Devontae Adams at KC, Jordan Addison, Devontae Smith versus the Giants. Yeah, tough to go wrong here. Look, we saw a real commitment to get Devontae Adams the ball in the last game. I think that continues. Josh Jacobs is a game time call. It looks like he may be trending in the wrong direction. And I know Kansas City's a good pass defense, but if they're going to get Devontae Adams those 12, 13 targets, I don't think you want to go down with him having a 20-point plus game. Addison, look, it's a good matchup, but it could be a Jefferson game. It could be a Hawkinson game. Addison is still third in like the rotation. And if Mullins turns into a backup quarterback today, it could be a problem. Devontae Smith, again, when Goddard's there, we all of a sudden see it's a 3-man game, and he tends to get less. His fantasy points went down since Goddard came back. I'm going to give Adams the call here. Mike, you're welcome. Sager, Nico Collins or Drake London. You know what? Nico Collins is not a full practicing. They're playing man. They play a lot of man coverage in Cleveland. There's going to be quick pressure on the quarterback. I don't know that Collins is a lock to finish the game on that calf. Those calf injuries are tricky. You saw with Joe Burrow. And Drake London at home, at least 67 yards in every game since week 1 when he got goose-egged, but he has been money at home. I don't think the fall off to Heineke is a fall off necessarily from Ritter. I give home London the edge. And then Unite Santini, Laporta or Connor. Oh, that's a good one. Minnesota's going to bring a lot of pressure. They do drop coverage. It does look like that would be an advantageous matchup for Laporta. Connor has a higher floor. We've seen the last 2 games. He's looked really good. Bears defense is tougher. Connor should get you 14-ish carries. Not doing much in the receiving game. He's getting a few carries, but like no yardage. He has a chance to score. Connor has a little safer of a floor. But Laporta, we saw last week, he could have that ceiling game. But I think Laporta's floor is lower than Connor's. But I think Laporta has a much higher ceiling. So if you want to bank a safe 8 or 9 points, it's Connor. If you're willing to risk down to maybe 5 in an off game to like 18 or so in a big spot, then I'd Laporta be your boom bust guy there. Melly Matrix, Achane, Gibbs, or Aaron Jones. Minnesota's good against receiving backs. Gibbs has been all over the board in fantasy performance. We've seen single-digit games. We've seen 20-plus point games. He epitomizes that boom-bust play. I think Achane has a safer floor. He's going to get about his 10 touches. He'll get some targets. His floor against Dallas should be moderately safe. Aaron Jones is tough. Dillon gets too much work. Jones hasn't been playing very well because of 3 injuries where he's had on and off this year. So Gibbs has the highest ceiling of this group because if he gets that explosive game going, Minnesota's a tough draw. But Achane has a higher floor. If you want the safest play, and there is some upside with Achane too. If they can uncork that Dallas defense in the outside zone run game, that upside is there. The floor is a little better. So Gibbs, though, is risky. But Gibbs, again, if Gibbs is speed balls out here, then he could be that guy, but Achane safer. Randy, all right, non-PPR. Chandler, Ford, and Connor. You know what? Cleveland's abandoning the run game a bit. Ford gets some targets, but in your non-PPR, that kind of doesn't mean so much. I'm going Connor for sure, and I'm going to give Chandler a 51-49 edge over Ford. The Houston matchup is okay, but they don't really run. Flacco throws 44 and 45 times in 3 straight games. They don't want to run, and Kareem Hunt's getting double-digit touches. So I got to give Chandler the edge there, even though it's a terrible matchup. Alex, need 2 quarterbacks between Purdy, Fields, and Goff. All right, so Fields is in. They should be able to run for a lot. This is a potential ceiling game for him. Goff's on the road. That Brian Flores blitz is scary. I see Goff as a boom bust. If they figure out that defense and he gets rolling, great, but there's a big chance they don't. Purdy's safer. Purdy has a higher floor than Goff. They both have reasonable ceiling, so I would go Purdy over Goff for that reason. There's a lot of scripts that go wrong for Goff. 3 running backs, Bijan, Eckler, who already played, Chandler, Warren, who already played, and Javonte. So 2 of those guys already played. I'll rank the other 3 for you. I will go Bijan 1. I'm going to go Chandler 2 in a terrible matchup, but Javonte is a worse matchup. So Javonte's number 3. That's how I'll rank them. And you got a flex battle. Definitely put in Njoku in. I mean, he's getting targets after targets. Houston isn't good against tight ends. Flacco's throwing a ton. I'd go with him. Chris, good morning to you as well. Yes, 2 years in a row to the championship game. Congratulations to you. Trying to make it 3. All right. Pick one, Goff or Mullins. Well, you heard me outline Goff. Mullins has a potentially really, really high ceiling, but he's Nick Mullins. And as problematic as Goff it could be here, Goff has a reliable floor. He's going to get you 15, 16 points, I think, in almost any scenario. He's only had 1 game. I think he went under that. Even in the road games, he's getting you 15, 16. Mullins could have a massive game here. Detroit's terrible against the pass, but he's Nick Mullins. And at any point, he could disappear. So if you want to lay up the safe points in your fantasy championship game, it's Goff. If you feel you need to get a 25-point game, is a better probability of Mullins hitting that than Goff. Bears or Browns? Man, and both are Bears play great. They got a better matchup. Browns have a backup quarterback, and they're on the road. I know, not as good on the road. It's just really, really hard to sit the Browns defense because they just bring it every week. And it's 50-50. I mean, from an analysis standpoint, it's 50-50. I'm going to go with the superstar defense, the Myles Garrett defense. I'm going with them for that. I'm going to make it 51-49 on that. But if your gut says Bears, I get it. Randy, in a league where yards and points count, I start Dolphins, Colts, or Broncos. Broncos. I could totally see them shutting down the Patriots. Scott the Max, happy holidays to you. Need 2 in the standard scoring league. Oh, I might have another super chat question. Hang on. Let's see what I got here. James King has a super chat question. Chan or Ken Walker? Look, I got to go Ken Walker. Off the injury report. The snap share is not great, but he gets the touches. Last week it was like 50-44 or something like that on snaps. Man, Walker had like 19 to 20 touches. And Tennessee, everybody's out. Jeffrey Simmons out for the season. They let go T.R. Tart, their run stopper. They're down linebackers. They're down safeties. I got to go Ken Walker. Got to go Ken Walker here. Achan, again, I mentioned earlier, might go off, but Walker could go off too. So Walker has a higher, more established floor. That's why I like him. All right, let's get back to the live questions. Let's see if I can find where I was at now. This is always be problematic. Oh, yeah, Scott. So did I answer your Scott? No, I didn't answer yours. So Scott the Max. All right. Happy holidays to you, I said. Standard scoring. Henry, Chuba, Edwards, Chandler. You know, I know people talk about the 49ers run defense, and they're saying it's bad. Since they picked up Chase Young and to a lesser degree Randy Gregory, they've been better. Now, Eric Armstead's out. They haven't ruled on Hargrave. And because it's a Monday night game, we're not going to get final word on that. And so I can't give you a full answer on Edwards because if Hargrave's out, the whole middle of that defense is compromised. And Edwards would be a better play. That makes it uncertain. Chandler has a nightmare matchup. Looked great last week. Henry looked awful last week, but he's back at home. Seattle could stack the box, but Henry has been more than not been very, very good at home. Hubbard, volume is king, and there's nothing scary about his matchup. So Hubbard for volume, he's in. I've got to put Derrick Henry in as my number 2. If Chandler had any better of a matchup, I would say Chandler. But Henry, like I said, other than last week at home, he's been getting it done. If your gut says Chandler over Henry, I get it. Madison is supposed to take some touches from him. Edwards, again, I don't know what the status of Hargrave is, but the more pressure they put, if he's in, it changes the whole equation. So that it's just I have incomplete information, and you have other good options. Sleek, full PPR, James Conner or Singletary, and Laporta or Trey McBride. Oh, man. On the tight end one, it's really hard to go wrong. McBride has the higher floor. Laporta has a reasonable floor and a higher ceiling. I haven't seen McBride's had bad matchups and caught 9 passes. This isn't a great matchup, but it's not a terrible matchup either. And he's their number one receiver right now. No Marquise Brown. He's literally so McBride has a higher floor than Laporta. Laporta has multi-touchdown upside. That's a 50-50 call. That's a gut call. Both are playing well. I can't put any shade on either one, but McBride is safer. So that's the one thing I'll say. McBride is safer because they probably trail the Bears. They probably have to throw a lot. Connor Singletary, this is close. Connor's playing really well, but doesn't get much on the passing game. Singletary does not have a good matchup here. Houston's been Cleveland's been much, much better against the run. Both are in bad spots. To that, I would give the edge to the better player, which is Connor. I make it 52-48 Connor because I'm going to go with the better player in a similar situation. Happy holidays to you as well. Scott Sanders scoring, Brock Purdy or Justin Fields. You know what? Fields shreds bad defenses. This is a bad defense, and Fields is at home. Love Purdy every week. There's a lot of variables against Baltimore. There's less variables with Fields. No Deontay Foreman. They're not going to be running the ball down their throats most likely. I'm giving Fields the edge here. I love Purdy. I'm giving Fields the edge 55-45 because of the running ability. Chris, DeAndre Swift or Calvin Ridley. And by the way, anybody, if your questions haven't been answered, please be patient. I'll get to you. We got a lot of time till kickoff, and I will try to give you my best answer. I want you to win your game, so I'm going to give you the why as much as I can. When we get down to the wire, when we get down to the last 40 minutes, may have to go faster with the answer, but you'll have heard the analysis on mostly of these players. So at least you'll know if you're listening throughout, you'll have that analysis, and then I can answer more quickly toward the end. All right. That said, again, if you can hit the like or subscribe button, greatly appreciated. No show on Monday for Christmas Day, but Tuesday we'll be back with a React Show. RotoWire live 5 days a week, 11 a.m. When the regular season's over, we'll reschedule and figure things out. All right, Chris, Swift or Ridley? Swift has a higher floor. He's going to get you that 15, 16 carries. Loses goal line work. Ridley is really a boom bust. Said earlier, I mean, if they get him in motion, they put him in stacks. He has a ceiling. They don't always do that. And we know that we'll probably see some safety shaded his way if they put him on the outside. Swift is safer. Ridley has real boom bust potential. He could go off. He could do very little. So you got to swing for defenses, Ridley. Otherwise, Swift is safe play. Geno Smith or Kyler? I'm going Geno. There's a chance they can run the ball down Tennessee's throats, but I think it's a great passing matchup. They can score a lot of points here. Kyler, it's a bad matchup. The Bears are playing so well at home. I'm giving Geno Smith a 55-45 edge. Randy, non-PPR, Jamison, Williams, Wicks, Dobbs running the Colts receivers. Wicks is healthy enough to play. Wicks has had the best floor of them all. I'm giving Wicks the edge here. Jamison Williams is really tough to trust. Dobbs should have a really rough outside cornerback matchup. Wicks is going to be moved around. I give Wicks the edge. See if I have a super chat question if I got it. Oh, I got one from Kevin Murphy. I got a super chat question. Kevin wants to know receiver, running back, flex, half PPR. So you're going to sit one of these. Collins, Smith and Jigba, Pacheco, or Swift. I'm playing Swift for the floor. Smith and Jigba has had a very reliable floor. Now, Collins and Pacheco, my questions are injuries. Collins does not have a full practice. He has a very tough man-to-man matchup, and he has a backup quarterback. Pacheco, shoulder surgery, expected fully to play. But if they get a lead, is it not 100%? I am more concerned with Collins' injury and his matchup than I am with Pacheco's. So because of the injury and the matchup, that's why I'm going to lean away from one of my favorite players, Collins. The situation is not optimal. All right, let's see here. All right, and then Chris, Broncos, Eagles, or Bears? The Broncos are real live here, but so are the Bears. The Eagles, if again, the matchup's fine, but they're lacking a lot. So Bears are playing great there at home. Denver's playing opportunistic in there at home. You can make a case for either, but I think the Patriots offense is far worse than the Arizona offense. So I'm going to give the Broncos the slight lean, and they've been really good at taking the ball away. So have the Bears. Give the Broncos a slight edge. Randy, general assessment of floor ceiling, Parker Washington. He's in a great spot. Middle of the field is fertile against Tampa. He could just totally shred them there. But he's Parker Washington. He hasn't established, but yet he's the number 3 option today in the passing game. I mean, you got Evan Ingram and Ridley. And this should or could be a high scoring game, and the run blocking doesn't give ATN any hope. So I think Parker Washington should get you at least 3 catches. He should get you at least 30 yards, but there's a chance he scores. There's a chance he gets 75 yards. So I kind of, that's how I'm looking at that. Khalil Herbert or Connor. Herbert looks good some weeks, and then other weeks not so good. Matchup's not bad. He should get double-digit touches. Connor probably gets about the same. The Bears' defense is a little bit tougher. I'm going to default to the better player. 51-49 Connor is a better chance Connor scores a touchdown. There's a better chance that Connor breaks a long play. Herbert's a very solid play. If your gut says Herbert, go with him for sure. But it's at this point when this is close, I just tend to lean with the better player. Connor's shook off a couple bad matchups lately, and he's done well. So he looks like James Conner, and that says a lot, right? All right, let's go Buffalo. Thanks again for the grace, man. Thank you. Everybody who's here, thank you. Hanging with me, I really appreciate you. You mean so much to me. Make my day. Thank you. Merry Christmas to you as well. Need 2 of 4, Debo, Mostert, Zeke, and Brees. So here's the deal with Debo. Look, when you draft a 49ers player, every week they're not going to get the ball, but when they do, look out, right? I don't sit 49ers unless there's a compelling reason not to, and there's no reason to sit Debo. Now, your other ones, Brees Hall, I don't like the idea of Trevor Siemian as a screen pass guy, and Washington's good against the run, and they're going to look. Teams are overstacking. Mostert's a boom bust play. If Dallas is speed at the linebacker, if they're on to the outsides, remember Buffalo hit him with downhill runs. That's not this Miami offense. That's speed to the outsides, right? If Dallas can contain that, then Mostert's held down. But if Miami wins, then Mostert has a big game. So he's boom bust. Zeke, I get it. Last week he got shut down. Could not ask for much of a better matchup than Denver. In the running, receiving game, he's going to get volume. Zeke is safer. Mostert could hit a home run, but he could bust. Zeke is safer. Mostert's your boom bust play. I'm going to leave Brees Hall out of this one. Volmaniac, happy holidays to you. And yes, and everyone listening and watching. I love that. Need 1. Singletary, Connor, or Zamir White. The problem with Zamir White is unless you get definitive word that Jacobs out, it's a Monday game. The other 2 are Sunday games, and they're both early Sunday games. So you've got to make your decision like now. And you can't take a 0. Just can't take a 0. So unless there's something out there that I'm not aware of that says if Zamir White is in and Jacobs is out, then he's your guy. Otherwise, Singletary and Connor, both don't have good matchups. Both will get volume. I defer to the better player. I'm going to go James Conner. 3 from Cooper, DJ Moore, AJ Brown. Wow. Lock and go. You know what? We're going to make Cooper is Flacco's guy. Houston does not defend number 1 receiver as well. DJ Moore is in a smash spot here. Arizona's got nobody for him. I bold call, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. Won't happen. That's my bold call. Didn't get on the air today because Alan ran us out of time. Alan Sosowski, I love you. And AJ Brown. AJ Brown should bounce back in this game. They should get him the ball back here. I do expect him to be heavily dosed. Lockett hasn't been playing up to his normal potential. Only got 3 of 8 last week. Mingo gets volume, but he's not in the range of those other guys. Oh, I got some super chat questions. Hang on. All right, see what we got here. Team out of nowhere. Super chat question. Need to flex 1 full PPR. Kyle Pitts or Curtis Samuel? Pitts has not shown a lot of ceiling. He's been better in home games. Taylor Heineke's the quarterback. That brings a little uncertainty. Not quite sure what we're getting from him. Curtis Samuel on fire. And when we look at Washington's matchup against the Jets, where do you want to attack them? Middle of the field. You got Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed on the outsides. Teams have had success in the middle. Game plan wise, you have to think Eric Bieniemy is aware of that. You have to think he's going to get Samuel involved. Samuel could disappear at any time, but so can Kyle Pitts. So for that reason, the matchup for Samuel fits what Washington needs to do, whether it's Howell or whether it's Jacoby Brissett in relief. 2 linemen are out, but that might mean more quick passing to the middle. And basically, Samuel has come up at Logan Thomas's expense. So I think Curtis Samuel is a live play. I think his floor is reasonable, but I think his ceiling is higher than Pitts. Another super quick chat question from Ramblin' Man. Walker, Swift, or Smith? I assume you mean Devontae Smith here, huh? If you're scared of Kenneth Walker's injury, then you need to fade him. We never could trust Pete Carroll with an injury. Never could trust him. He might be telling the truth. He might be lying. He might be egregiously lying. My lineup, I believe that Swift is fine. Walker's fine, but that's my narrative. I could be wrong. Walker's matchup, Tennessee's defense is gutted. Injuries all over. They should be able to run. I would start Walker, but if you don't trust the injury, it's your fantasy semifinal. So other than that, Swift has the highest floor. Swift's going to get to 14, 15 carries, probably losing the red zone work to Jalen Hurts. Pretty weak. Much every week he gets you that 10 to 15 points. It's about right. Doesn't have much ceiling. Doesn't have a lower floor. Won't get game scripted out here most likely. So you should be fine. Smith would have a higher ceiling, lower floor than Swift. With Dallas Goedert back, he hasn't been getting consistent looks the same way he was when Goedert was out. So that'd be Swift to be your floor play. Smith would be your boom bust. If you get past the injury fear, it would be Walker. But again, your injury fear is real. You got to trust it. It's your fantasy championship semifinal. All right. Austin. Cooper and Njoku. Oh, it's impossible, right? They both get a ton of targets. They both are big plays waiting to happen. Houston's bad against number one receivers and against tight ends. Will Anderson's out, and that, what means Flacco may have a little more time to throw. So for that reason, I think Cooper's the play. Because if the pass rush isn't getting home, that gives Flacco a little more time. That means he might throw downfield a little bit more. That would give me Cooper. 51-49. They both are seeing volume. All right. Let's see what we got here. Do I have a super chat? I got another super chat question, I think, maybe. Yep. Fabian has a super chat question. If Jacobs is out on Monday, would I start Zamir White or DeAndre Swift? Well, Swift doesn't get a lot of touchdown action because that's Jalen Hurts' ball game, right? And Kansas City is not a good run defense. And we know Antonio Pierce wants to run the ball as much as possible. Now, if they trail, White could be scripted out. So we saw Amir Abdullah, Brandon Bolden as receivers are going to come in. So if you think the Chiefs are going to win this one with somewhat level of, 7 points, 10 points, they probably have a lead, then Swift is safer. So I think that makes Zamir White more boom or bust, right? But I'd Swift to be your safe play. He's your safe play. Bank your 12 to 15 points and call it a day. But if you're at that point on Monday and you need 25 points, I don't think Swift's getting you that. Could Zamir White go off on them? Yes, he can. But he also could have a low game. So basically, go into your game, check your score going into Monday, and make your decision that way. All right. All right, get back to the live questions here. All right, and then I answered yours already, and let's make sure I don't have any more super chats here. Oh, I got one. Gilberto, it says something in the super chat, but there's no question attached to it, and I'm not able to see that question. If you could do like a penny or something and put it back in a super chat, I could see yours. Otherwise, I can't get to the bottom because I got like 100 questions probably banked up here, and I'm not going to be able to find it. I'm sorry. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, where am I on the questions? I was on Austin's. All right, here we go. And then I answered. Okay. Jan, McBride, Hawkinson. You gave me the McBride twice. You're giving me the double talk. All right. McBride has a higher floor than Hawk, and they both have similar ceilings. So there's that. McBride is safer, but I do think Hawkinson is always in play, facing his old nemesis, Detroit, the team he was with. Hawkinson's your boom bust play because he could go off. But McBride is like seeing so many catches. He's like the number one in that offense. So McBride's safer, but if you got to shoot for upside and risk some floor, then it'd be Hawk. Let's see. Rambling Man, another super chat question. You have Njoku, start Flacco or Lawrence? Overall, there's nothing scary about the Tampa Bay matchup. Nothing at all scary about it. Flacco, not worried about his matchup either. But this could be a low-scoring game. There's a world, and like I said, I like Cooper, I like Njoku in a vacuum, but I think there's a better chance that Lawrence is in a shootout than Flacco's in a shootout. And if Cleveland gets in this game where they go up early, they might decide to run the ball more than usual. I think Lawrence is safer here. And I think they have similar upside. Because of that, I would tend to go the Trevor Lawrence side of things. All right. All right, let's see here. Brian, Roshan or Chandler? Oh, that's a good one. I think Chandler's a horrible matchup. Roshan would, in theory, have a good matchup, but we don't know what his volume is. If the Bears aren't trailing, then he may not get to work because he's like the hurry-up back. They don't have a pass rush, Arizona, so he's not going to be in pass pro here. I think Chandler has a more established role in this game. I think he's safer, and that's why I go with him. I think they both could have potential similar ceiling, but I have to give Chandler the edge because I think his role is more secure in this game. Kevin, good morning to you as well. Merry Christmas. Biggest question is Green Bay or Chicago defense? I don't trust Green Bay's defense. It's not coached well. Joe Barry does not make adjustments. Hell, he doesn't even make good game plans. I'm going to go with the Bears. I think the Bears are in a great spot. The Bears are playing very well since getting Montez, but everybody's playing better. And at home, they play really well. I got the Bears pretty handily here, 70 to 30%. Daniel, need to get in the finals. Yes. I hear you on that. Cleveland -3. Minnesota +2.5. Green Bay -4. Tennessee +3 or Jacksonville -1. Of those games, which one? You're asking me which one I would most likely pick. I would go with Cleveland. I know they're on the road. They're facing a backup quarterback, and they're right now, the injuries on Houston, injuries on Cleveland. I think the injuries are more impactful on the Houston side. I would lean with Cleveland on that. And go Bills. Yeah, they squeaked by. Matt, morning to you as well. Happy holidays. Thank you. PPR Flex, Trey McBride or Zay Flowers. I don't know what Zay Flowers' injury status is. It's a Monday night game. And McBride has such a high ceiling. And I don't know that Flowers has a big ceiling against the 49ers. So I have to go with Trey McBride because it's the Sunday versus Monday thing, and it's the higher floor. And you're in your fantasy semis. If Flowers is dinged up, or if he gets pulled from the game, or if he gets late scratch, that's too much risk for me. Dusty Baker, Standard League, Pacheco or Hubbard? Because Pacheco's coming off the shoulder surgery, and I don't know if they get a lead, if they're going to let him finish 4 quarters, that gets me worried. I don't see Green Bay blowing out Carolina. Now, any game can prove you wrong. Hubbard's volume has been real, and I'm going to give Hubbard the edge because that volume is crazy good. And Pacheco, I just have a slight bit of uncertainty of, like, again, coming off the surgery. We don't know what the surgery was. I know he's cleared to play. But again, do they take it easy when they get a lead? And that, to me, that's in the range of outcomes I'm worried about. Melly Matrix, Gibbs or Swift? Well, I'm going to frame it this way. Gibbs, you have him on your team. You've seen it. You've seen the single-digit games. You've seen the 25-point games. And this isn't the best matchup. Minnesota's good against receiving backs. So that makes him a boom-bust play because he could have that floor game. But again, he's Jahmyr Gibbs, I should say. They were on both on the Lions in the past. Swift last year anyway. But anyway, Gibbs has that ceiling potential. Swift is that highest floor. You're getting those 15, 16 carries. You're getting that 60 to 70 yards. You're getting 1 or 2 catches. Maybe not getting the touchdown. So if you want to lay up the safe double-digit points, then go Swift. But if you need that 20-25, I don't think Swift's getting that for you. He typically doesn't. And that's where Gibbs, you risk the floor for the ceiling. So again, that's how I frame that one. Andrea, Merry Christmas to you and everyone. Need 2 running backs, Mostert, Pacheco, Bijan, Chandler, and Devontae Smith. So it says 2 running backs, but you have Devontae Smith in there. It's a receiver. All right. I'm going to give, look, you just heard me talk about Pacheco. Mostert, it's all styles makes fight things. Dallas last week got crushed in the downhill running, but this is an outside zone run team. And it's a question of can the speed of the linebackers hold it off? Mostert's a boom bust play, but he's been great all year. Bijan, it's Indy. Grover Stewart was back 2 weeks ago, struggled in the first game, but last week the run defense looked good. So that makes them a lot better, and Bijan's a tougher matchup. Chandler has a nightmare matchup. If Devontae Smith is in this group with the running backs, again, we know the drill with him. He's lost targets since Goddard came back. So I would probably say the safest plays here would be Pacheco safe. Again, they pull him out, he would probably at least get you 70 yards by that point, I would think. Him and Smith are the safest. But I think Bijan and Mostert have the most upside of this group. So they're your boom bust play. So I would kind of, if I'm starting mine, if I want, Mostert has a better boom than Bijan. They both have potential floor games. Smith has a higher floor than Pacheco. I hope I answer. Chandler in this group has a bad matchup, makes me kind of shy away from that one. So if it's my lineup, I'd probably take one of the upside guys and one of the floor guys. I would probably go with a combination of Mostert is the floor guy. Yeah, he's like a boom bust. He's a boom bust guy. So he'd be my boom bust guy. Mostert be my boom bust guy, and my floor guy be Pacheco. That's how I would frame it. I would probably go with those as my choice. All right, Master J3, Trevor Lawrence or Baker Mayfield. Yeah, it's that Jacksonville pass rush once in a while it shows up, and if it does show up, then it's a problem for Mayfield, but it doesn't always show up. Often it doesn't show up. I would go with Lawrence here. I think Lawrence, his matchup is great. It's close, but Baker's had some, and Lawrence had bad games too. But Mayfield has some really ugly yardage games. If it's a game where Rachaad White runs it in a couple times, that would kill Mayfield. I think Lawrence is a higher floor. I got a super chat question I'm going to get to in a second. Trust Breece or go with Zay Flowers? Well, I'm very worried about Breece Hall because teams stack the box, and I don't know how Simeon's going to do with them in the screen game because that's what he's counting on. But Flowers has an injury. We don't know the severity of it. So Hall's going to get you a floor. And I think unless you get word that Zay Flowers is a full go, I think you got to go with Breece Hall. I got a super chat question. Let's see what I got here. Todd, need a one flex full PPR. Tucker, Kraft, or Parker, Washington. All right. So, yeah, thanks for the extras. I'm good on all that. All right. So Tucker Kraft's going to get you 3 to 4 catches. He has a chance to score. 2 out of the last 4 games he scored. And overall, in terms of matchup, Carolina, pretty good against tight ends. Not a death matchup, but not a great one. Parker, Washington, it's a great matchup. Middle of the field, it's fertile. I mean, he could have a really big game. But yet it's Parker, Washington, and it's the fantasy semis, and Evan Ingram is going to be in the middle of the field as well. This could be a shootout, but game script could get wonky. I think that Washington's your boom bust play because I think there's real ceiling here. But I also think he's Parker Washington, and he could have this floor game out of nowhere because it's still the fear of the unknown. Kraft is safe for that 3 catches, 40 yards, 40% chance to score. He's your floor play. But if you got to swing for defense, then I'm looking at Parker Washington because I do see real potential there. All right, Master J3, let me see. You have defense. Should you go with the Packers, Eagles, or the Titans? Not going with the Titans. They like lost everybody. They're gutted. They're like nobody left. And the Eagles, good opponent, not a good defense. Packers, I don't think I could trust them at all. Again, you hear me talk about Joe Barry. He doesn't have a good game plan. He doesn't make adjustments. Carolina's, yeah, they're terrible, but I don't know that Joe Barry can exploit that. I'm going to give the Eagles the edge here. I think they can overcome that offensive line and make some problems for Tommy DeVito. I'm going to give the Eagles the edge. Lex plants some trees. Drop McKinnon or Justin Hill for Roschon, Dowdle, Mingle, or Boston Scott. Well, fantasy semis, you don't have to worry about the Boston Scott, DeAndre Swift thing. You can get him next week if you really wanted him, if there was a need for that. Justice Hill's going to have guaranteed volume every week. Jerick McKinnon's probably back next week, and you might need him. Roschon is real iffy. His role week to week, you never know what you're getting. Dowdle, if Dallas is blowing a team out, which they're probably not going to do here, he doesn't work. Mingo, he gets targets, but this week's matchup isn't great on the outside. I'd keep it as it is. I'd keep it as it is. C-Dog, Purdy or Mahomes? Yeah. Mahomes had about 23 fantasy points against the Raiders last time. One of the only 20-point games he's had this year. I imagine that floor is still there. Purdy theoretically could have an upside game. I would trust Mahomes' floor here. There's a chance that Baltimore comes out and figures some things out. I don't know that they will. But I think that adds an element of risk you don't need to take in a game that Mahomes should be fine in. I'll give Mahomes the edge. Most other weeks would be Purdy. Texans, Packers, Jags, the available too. No, I'd go with what we said. I think we're fine where we were. Shookson, good morning to you as well. Baker or Mahomes? You just kind of heard me say, I think Mahomes against this specific defense and the fact that he had success against them another at home, I think we could roll with that. I think we're okay there. Now, I should point out to everybody, I know like Max Crosby was hurt and played last time, so there was that. But I don't think he is going to create that much disruption to change. Mahomes is so able to avoid pass rush. So, I'm going to give Mahomes the edge. His floor is safer than Baker's. And I don't know that Baker has an astronomical ceiling. Remember, he's had some really rugged yardage games. And again, Rachaad White could punch in touchdowns. Let me see how I'm doing question-wise here. We got a ton. I probably spoke to most of your players, so I'm gonna probably try to give you some quicker answers to make sure everybody gets set before kickoff. We gotta get you guys covered. Andrea, Merry Christmas. 2 running backs and a flex. Mostert, Pacheco, Bijan. I think we answered that one already, right? I could have sworn I answered that one already, and maybe I missed that one. Let me see here. Let me see if I screwed something up. Yeah, I answered that one for you already, so I know I got that, Andrea. And Kevin, I got that. So where am I screwed up here? Kevin, I got that one for you too. Maybe some people asked the question twice, or maybe it was me. It always could be me. Operator. I got another super chat question, Dr. But I got a super chat question. All right, 1DWKJR is a super chat question. Need to pick 2 from Breece Hall, Pacheco, Achane, Walker, and Bijan. Paralysis by analysis. Look, I believe Kenneth Walker is healthy, and he is going to get you close to 20 touches. And the matchup, Tennessee is gutted on defense. So Kenneth Walker is a high floor, high ceiling play. And then I also think Achane has a similar floor to Bijan and Pacheco, and a better floor than Breece Hall. And I think Achane has some ceiling here. Pacheco has a good matchup. But I again, coming up the shoulder surgery, I'm going to frame it this way. Walker for me would be in. And actually, I'm going to reframe this. I still think Pacheco has like a 70-yard floor here. I think he has to have that against this defense. But there's going to be some risk with the injury. I would say Pacheco's your floor play. And I would say Achane has a reasonable floor, but I think he has a higher ceiling than Pacheco, because if Dallas struggles with the speed, that would be the issue. So, use Achane as your boom bust. Pacheco is your safer floor play, and I'm leaving Bijan because Grover Stewart, again, they're clicking back on last week. They started to pick back up on run defense. He's the key to that defense. So that's how I'd frame that one. All right. Back to the live questions and see if I can find where I was at now. Let's see. Oh, Dr. Roberto's up. Okay, good. Put you back on there. With Foreman now, he's out. Oh, man. Yeah, the Nico Collins one, that's tough. And it's a bad matchup. He's got a backup quarterback. Roshan, we don't know if he's needed in pass pro because Arizona has no pass rush, and the Bears are probably not trailing, so he may not need to be a hurry up back here. That said, I think Roshan probably has a slightly higher floor than Collins, because of Collins' calf injury. If it's an aggravation, that's a problem. So that's the risk. Collins has a much higher ceiling. Even in the bad matchup, he could get it done with a backup quarterback. Roshan's a little safer for a floor, but if you need 15 points, Roshan ain't getting you there. Collins could. So frame it that way. If you need the safe play, it's Roshan for some floor, but if you got to swing for some heavier points, then you got to go Collins. I got to go faster. I'm sorry. Big Meech, Tua or Flacco. Dallas could figure him out. It could be a real problem. Flacco has a higher floor here. He does have a higher floor here, but Tua has a much higher ceiling. So if you want the boom or bust play, it's Tua. If you want the higher floor, it's Flacco. Chicago, D or Indy. Chicago has been playing great, and they're at home, and I love the matchup go that way. Chris, Bears or Cowboys? Again, in a vacuum, the Bears look like a better play, but the Cowboys could make life hell for Miami. So I would start the better defense in the Cowboys, but I get it from a logical standpoint. The Bears might be a better play. Super chat question. Hunter L. Wide receiver Adams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Moore, running back Mostert, Jonathan Taylor already started Kyron. Do you start Mostert or Taylor? I'm starting Taylor. Taylor, the last 3 games, very high floor, very solid ceiling, scored in all 3 games. No Zach Moss. The thumb injury didn't hurt his conditioning in any way, so it should be fine there. I am going with the safety, floor, ceiling combo of Taylor. Bench Adams for a running back. I do expect him to get this 12-ish targets, and we saw it last week. It's dangerous to bench Devontae Adams. All right, and we answered that for Chris. All right, P. Vasilio, Kittle or Ferguson? Look, when you drafted Kittle, you knew what you were getting into. He could go off in a game. He could be quiet again, but there's no rhyme or reason. You can never predict the games. Ferguson is a safer floor, but I would never bench Kittle, because if Kittle has a 30-point game on your bench, when you drafted him, his status hasn't changed, and it's never matchup based. It never matters. So I'm gonna start Kittle, but if you really need the safest play, it'd be Ferguson. It's a good matchup for Ferguson. Frenzy, half PPR, Henry or Jacobs? Well, you got to make that decision now. And so Jacobs sitting, that's a Monday afternoon at noon question, Central Time. Henry playing Sunday at noon. So you got to make the decision now. And Henry's active, and right now Jacobs isn't. So you got to go with Henry because you don't have any idea if he's going to play or not. So there's that. All right. Andrea, Ferguson or Likely? Miami gives you the middle of the field. And it's a great matchup for tight ends. And I'm going to go with Ferguson for that reason. Likely's great, and he could do really well here. But Ferguson should be a key part of the game plan. Brian, Froshan or Chandler? Chandler should be a lock into more volume. The matchup is way worse. But again, if the game script doesn't allow Roshan to be the pass protector or the hurry-up back, Chandler has a safer floor. Roshan is more boom-bust. So if you need the ceiling play, it'd be Roshan, but he has real low floor because they might not need him. Chandler would have the higher floor for volume, even with Madison back. Fields, your quarterback, again, I usually don't put that too much into the decisions. Just look for both points. Chris, Lockett, Jacobs, or Noah Brown? Noah Brown's going to face man defense, 3 really good corners, so pick your spot. He's in trouble. Backup quarterback. I know he got it done last week, but those 2 goose eggs are still there from 3 weeks ago. This isn't a good matchup for him. But Josh Jacobs may not play, and so you can't take a 0. Well, Brown could get you a 0. Lockett's in for sure. And I've got to start Noah Brown right now unless you hear Josh Jacobs is playing. If you don't hear Josh Jacobs is playing, you expect he's inactive. And you can't take a 0 in the fantasy semis. Kevin, I think I answered that for you already. Steven, pick 2 dynasty flexes. Moore, Agnew, Dotson, Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore twice. Oh, you got me the double talk too. Somebody got me on it earlier. Moore's targets go way down when Cooper is healthy. When he wasn't, then we got a big target game. Agnew, it's real hit or miss. They get that one dialed up play and it works, he hits. And if he doesn't make a dialed up play, then he misses. Dotson, terrible matchup, looked terrible last week. I'm going to give the slightest edge to Moore because he'll get 4 targets or 5 targets, which I can't say for the other ones. I'm going to give him that edge. Jason, Ferguson or Goddard? Both have reasonable floors. I think Ferguson has potential for a ceiling game. Goddard's safer. Goddard is going to be involved. Good matchup against the Giants. Goddard's the safe play, safest. Ferguson has more upsides. If you need the risk floor for ceiling, it'd be Ferguson, but they both are in good shape. The better player is Goddard, and there's something to be said for that. Rahendra, full point. Sutton, Reed, or Downs? I worry that Bill Belichick knows that Sutton is the only guy that Wilson goes to, and they puts an extra player on him and then shuts him off. Downs hasn't been right since he hurt the knee, which was an ongoing issue. Jaden Reed is expected to play with a toe injury, and Jaden Reed right now, I'm going to give him the edge for floor. I think he has the best floor of this group, but your boom bust play is Sutton, because if Sutton gets rolling and New England can't stop him, then it is what it is. But I think it's a lower scoring game anyway. Reed's your safe play. Sutton is your boom bust. Breece Hall or Amari? I'm going to Amari. He's just, again, Flacco just can't stop getting the ball to him enough. And Breece Hall, teams are sacking up to stop him. Stephen, Michael Wilson. No, he's going to see a lot of Jalen Johnson and not so much on him. Jason, Jacoby, Wicks, or Downs need 2. I'm going to sit Downs. Like you heard me just talk about Downs a minute ago. It's just not working lately. And last week it was every opportunity, great matchup, and nothing happened. Rahendra, Eagles, Broncos, or Commanders? I like the Broncos best of this group. They're playing New England. It's terrible on offense. And I got spammed. Pablo. Oh, I get it. I think they both have really low floors. I think Roshan is a boom bust because, again, you heard me say if the script works out and they got to get him in, fine. But it's Herbert's going to be the lead most likely. Javonte is your floor play. Not a high floor, but it's a bad matchup. But Javonte has a higher floor. Roshan, if you got to swing for more ceiling, then you might make that move. But it's hard to trust. For me, it's always hard to trust Roshan. He's so game script dependent. Chris, Singletary, Parker, Washington, Demario Douglas. Demario Douglas is the safest. He's going to get you 5-6 catches, get you to 40 to 50 yards. Singletary, tougher matchup here. He's going to get volume, but Demario Douglas gets volume too. The swing for defense guy is Parker Washington. Could see him have a big game, but he's Parker Washington. He could get you nothing. So if you gotta go boom bust, it's Washington. The floor play to me is Douglas. Boofy, Ridley, Wicks, or Scary Terry? Don't like McLaurin's matchup. That's a little bit problematic. You either got Reed or you got Gardner. That's tough. Ridley, never know how they're going to use him. Ridley has the highest ceiling of them all, but he has a low floor. Wicks, compared to the other two, the talent isn't close. I would almost say Terry McLaurin is the best floor. I would say he has the best floor. Now we had a goose egg a couple weeks ago. He has the best floor. Ridley is your boom bust play. If you got to swing for a low floor and a high ceiling of him, McLaurin is most likely to get you 8 to 10 points. John, good morning to you. Happy holidays. Happy PPR. Sit 2. White, Hall, Mostert, Elliott, Chandler. Chandler for the bad matchup. And Brees Hall because of matchup as well. Washington's much better against the run. Against pass. YouTube user standard. Cooks, Wicks, Noah Brown, McLaurin. I am going to give McLaurin the slight edge here. Brown, we get back to the goose eggs. It's a bad matchup. Cooks, Miami limits explosive extremely well. McLaurin is so much better of a player than Wicks. I'm going to go with the better player despite the bad matchup. McBride, Hawk, or Laporta. Can't go wrong here. Jan cannot go wrong here. McBride has the highest floor. All three have potential ceiling. If you want the safest floor, it's McBride. None of them have a compelling matchup over the others. Laporta, after that 3 touchdown, might be running the hottest. So if you want the biggest upside play, my guess is Laporta, but I think McBride is the best floor play. All right, next one, full PPR, Connor or Chandler. Again, both have tougher matchups. I'm going to defer to the better player and go with Connor. Spears or Chandler. So this is the question you got to ask yourself. Tennessee's playing Seattle. If you think Seattle is going to win handily, then that means it's going to be a Spears and hurry up mode game, and he's going to get 6 or 7 catches and go off. If you think this game is close, his role will be diminished. It's a Derrick Henry game, and then that means Chandler's the play. So Spears is your boom bust play. Chandler has a higher floor despite the bad matchup. Dude Love, half PPR, Achan or Chuba. Chuba has that floor. If you want to get yourself 10 to 12 points, it's Chuba, and you want to guarantee it and bank it home. Achan, Dallas could figure him out, but he also could go off, so he's a boom bust play. If you got to swing for 20 points, then you got to go Achan. If you want that bankable 10 to 12, it's Chuba. Ayuk, Addison, or A.J. Brown. So A.J. Brown is in. He should be fine this week. They get back to him. With Addison and Ayuk, look, Ayuk's a superstar. Addison's a really good player. I'm not worried about the matchup for either of them. Baltimore does not worry me for Ayuk. I'm going to defer to the better player. I'm going to go with Ayuk, knowing both of them have floor. But if you have a gut call on Ayuk, Addison, go with it. But I'm going with my superstar, and Ayuk is a superstar. All right, let's see what we got here. Dog days. Let's see. Shallow, non-PPR, Miami stack of Tua, Hill, and Waddle. You know what? You got 3 stars there, Tua, Hill, and Waddle. I probably don't need to get cute. Jaden Reed has a toe injury. We don't know what level of health he's at. So you got your Dolphins. They could go off. They could get shut down. You know what? Mullins is your swing for defense guy. He could turn into Nick Mullins on you, and that's a problem. Tua should have a higher floor. Fantasy playoff season on the line. You invested in your Dolphins. Dallas' defense and the road has not been great. Trust your gut for sure, but you invested in the Miami team, and I don't think Dallas on the road has shown us a reason to go away from them. Goff or Lawrence? I'm going to give Lawrence the edge for floor. Goff has had good road games, but that potential blitz from Brian Flores, that package is going to be very confusing, and Goff struggles under pressure. I'm giving Lawrence a 55-45 edge here. Mark, Merry Christmas Eve to you. Full PPR, ETN, Brees Hall, and Achan. ETN gets no blocking at all. The volume isn't what it should be. Tampa Bay's decent against the run. Brees Hall is going to see a stacked box, and I don't know how Simeon gets into screen passes. I'm going to go with Achan for sure in this group because I think he has the best floor of them, believe it or not. And then of the other two, look, I'm going to give Brees Hall the slight edge because I think he catches 6 passes here, hoping Simeon can give him the ball. Whereas ETN has just been, he can't overcome the bad blocking. If you need to swing for the fence, ETN could have the boom bust game. Hall doesn't really have a ceiling, I don't think, but he has a great floor, I think, with the catches. So Hall and HA, but if you want to swing for defense, then bench Hall and put in ETN. Jeff, Henry or Bijan? Yeah, full PPR. Bijan gets a little edge. There is in my mind, I think Seattle can get a big lead. And if they do, Henry gets game scripted out. But Henry, if the game's close, gets multiple touchdown upside. So Bijan is the better floor of the two, easily the better floor. But if you need 20 points, I don't think Bijan's getting that. Henry can get multi-touchdowns here if the game is close. But if you know in your heart Seattle's going to crush them, you got to go with Bijan. Shooks on full PPR flex. Devontae Smith, Bijan, Achan, or Chandler. You just need one. Bijan for floor probably, but Smith has a similar floor. They have a similar floor in full PPR. Achan's your boom bust play. So if you need 20-ish points, it's got to be Achan. I probably would go with Bijan over Smith for the floor because he's going to be a factor as a runner and a receiver in this game. ETN or Ingram. Middle of the field is just so easy to navigate against Tampa Bay. And again, ETN gets no blocking, so that's problematic. Fabian, you're welcome. Baez, 203. 2-2-1. And you need 6 players. It's ETN, Zeke, JT, Pollard, Puka played already, DJ Moore, Addison, I guess Nico Collins maybe. That's 8, and you need to sit 2. All right, of this group, I would sit Collins because of the injury, and I don't know that he's 100%. He didn't have full practice, and I would sit ETN because, again, he gets no run blocking, and his carries aren't where we'd like them. All right, Ace, McBride, Cortland Sutton, Nico Collins, pick 2. Because of the Nico Collins injury and no full practices and Cleveland's defense, I'm worried that Sutton does get taken out by Belichick, but the injury to Collins scares me enough. McBride and Sutton for me. Rich, Waddle or Addison? Yeah, it's a tough one here, right? They're very hard to predict on a week-to-week basis. I think that Waddle will be a little more needed than usual. I don't think Tyreek's 100%. And I think he's needed more. Waddle probably has a higher probability of 9 targets than Addison. Addison, we know, can score multiple touchdowns at a drop of a hat, and it's an easy matchup. So I think Addison's your boom bust guy because they go to just Jefferson and Hawk, then they don't need Addison. So he's boom or bust. I think Waddle has a better floor here, but I don't know that he has a ridiculous ceiling. I think Dallas will be able to contain him a bit. So Addison's your boom bust and Waddle's your floor, depending what you need. Liang, half PPR, Barkley, Hall, or Zeke, pick 2. Hard to sit Barkley. We know he had a bad game in the last one, and Philly's not a great matchup, but he's gotten it done in bad matchups, and it's really hard to sit Barkley for the volume he gets and the ability he can bring. So we're playing him. I like Zeke over Hall. The volume's going to be there. The matchup could not be much better than Denver, so I'm going to go with that route. Shookson, Trevor Simeon's the quarterback, but I'm going Garrett Wilson. He should get double-digit targets here. And Chandler against a horrible matchup. Madison might take some touches. I'm going to go with Garrett Wilson. Go with the superstar. Happy holidays, Steven. Goff or pick up Baker. Goff is boom. They both are kind of boom bust this year. I don't know that one is significantly better than the other. There's a chance that Minnesota blitz gets to Goff and he has an implosion game, but Baker has the same idea. If Jacksonville occasionally gets that pass rush kicked up, but if they get kicked up, then it's pretty equal here. It's literally 50-50. I would probably trust my season with the Lions more because if Baker gets a pass rush, he could implode. And in some of his yardage games have been grisly. Goff's had a floor. Even in bad games, he's had a floor. I'm going to go Goff for the floor. Got the Ravens with the Bears, Texas on waivers. I do think the Bears outperform the Ravens. But again, a very good defense could have a very good game. So the Bears on paper is a better matchup, and they've been playing really well. And the Ravens, it's a terrible matchup, but could they come up big? Sure. But I would say on paper, the Bears have a better matchup. Sports Scarf, Standard League, 2 out of 3. And then there must be more. I probably have more down below. Okay. Antoine, who do I trust the most on Indy now that Pittman's out? Montgomery. You know what? Honestly, Downs is struggling right now. And I think it's that knee injury. It's that since OTAs, and then he missed a little bit of time. Montgomery was in a 1-for-1 role. And he played all the snaps and Pittman didn't play in that role. So I'm going to give Montgomery a slight edge. Sean, Devontae Smith or David Montgomery? Montgomery's safer. Montgomery's like 10 to 13 fantasy points in the last 4 games. And I think this is kind of that same deal. Devontae Smith is really boom bust when Dallas Goedert's in. His targets tend to go down. But if you want the swing for defense play, it would be Devontae Smith because he could go off. And this is not a bad matchup for him. And the Giants have been good against the pass. They've been playing well. But Devontae Smith is still, the attention's going to go to A.J. Brown. So your boom bust play is Smith. But if you want that safe double-digit floor and call it a day, it's Monty. Mark, Merry Christmas. Full PPR. ETN, Brees, or HN. So I might have had that one from somebody else. All right, I'm going to go to HN for sure. And I'm going to go Brees for the floor and ETN for boom bust. Max, appreciate you, man. And thanks, thanks for shouting out to me and Mario as well. Stacked opponent, Cook, disappointed. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. H-Chan or Singletary. So it comes out to this. Singletary's going to get bankable volume, but it's not a good matchup for him. Cleveland's been much better against the run lately. H-Chan's your classic boom bust play. If that outside zone gets to Dallas, then he could have the huge game. But if Dallas shuts it down, it's problematic. So if you need big points, you got to go H-Chan. If you want about 8 to 10 bankable points, then it's got to be Singletary. Waddle or Ridley. Waddle has a higher floor than Ridley, and they both have comparable ceilings. So for that reason, I go with Waddle. All right, you need 2 out of 3. Sports Scarf, Pacheco, Hall, Hubbard. Hubbard for volume. I'm still a little concerned that Pacheco's coming back from that shoulder injury, but because I don't really know what his status is. I know he's playing. I get that, but I don't know if they get a leave if they pull him. But Hall, he's going to need a lot of receptions to come through. I'm going to give Pacheco has a higher floor. I'm going to give him the edge here. Merry Christmas to you as well. Shookson, Pollard, Connor, Edwards, Roschon. How many do you need? I'm going to rank them this way. I'm going to rank them Pollard, Connor, Edwards, and Roschon. So Pollard, Edwards, Connor. No, I'm sorry. In the order you have them. Pollard, Connor, Edwards, and Roschon. That's how I'm ranking them in that order. Exactly in that order. Jack, pick a running back, receiver, and a tight end and flex. ETN, Bijan, Evans, Ayuk, Metcalf, LeBride, Laporta. You're going to tell them so you need a receiver and a flex and a tight end. So for the tight end, McBride has a safer floor than Laporta, and they both probably have real similar ceilings. So if you want the safest play, it's McBride, and they have similar ceilings. Laporta probably has a little more ceiling than McBride, but it's not by far. And then your receivers, it's going to be impossible to see. You have 3 of them, and they're all impossible. Evans and Metcalf are the safest, and I think they have similar ceiling than Ayuk. So I would go with the 2 safer options that have similar ceiling, Evans and Metcalf. And then your running back, I'm going to go with Bijan. He has a higher floor than ETN. Volmaniac, Connor versus Singletary. I defer to the better player here. They're both going to have similar volume, and they both have tougher matchups. Give me the better player. Go to Connor. Tom, Merry Christmas to you. Tua or Mullins. So you're right, but the problem is if Nick Mullins turns into Nick Mullins, we saw it with Josh Dobbs, right? A backup quarterback at some point will turn into a backup quarterback. And so Mullins has a high ceiling. But if he turns into Nick Mullins, it could be a real problem. So look, Tua probably gets you a floor here. And if you want to go boom bust, then take your shot on Mullins. But if you want to make sure you get a base of points, I got to say Tua. And I know he hasn't been great for fantasy. But again, you've got to worry that Mullins turns into Mullins, and that could happen like that. Rick, half PPR, need 2 for the flex. JSN, Jaden Reed, Tyjae Roschon, Alec Pierce. Jaden Reed's well enough to play. His usage is great. After that, the best floor play is Jackson Smith and Jigba. Doing real well. Now, if you don't like him and you want to go boom bust, if you think Seattle is going to get a big lead on Tennessee, your boom bust play is Tyjae Spears because he's the hurry up back. And if they fall behind early, that would game script out Henry, and Tyjae could see 7 targets, and that could be big. All right. Big Meech. Oh, I might have a super chat question. Hang on. See what I got. I got a super chat question here. NUGXS. Rashi, Rice, or Waddle. I think Rashi Rice has a higher floor. He's 9 or 10 targets in 4 straight games, and they have realized that he's a focal point of the offense, and the Raiders really don't have much in the way of being able to contain him. Waddle is always a great play, but he's more boom bust, and I think Rice could have a ceiling game, but he also has a much higher floor than Waddle. So I like Rashi Rice here, but if your gut says Waddle, it's the fantasy playoffs. You've got to go with your gut, but I think Rice's bankable volume has just been too hard to ignore. And they're getting him involved in the red zone too now. James King, Achane or Zeke. I think Zeke has a much higher floor. Denver's a very bad run defense. They're bad against receiving backs. as well. So Zeke should have a phenomenal floor of nearly 20 touches. The game, I don't see this game. Denver should in New England. I doubt this game is a blowout. So Zeke should be relevant for 4 quarters. HN has he could have the potential ceiling game, right? If Dallas can't deal with the speed in the outside zone, that could give him. But if Dallas can deal with it, then HN could get slowed down. So HN's your boom bust play if you want to risk floor for ceiling. But if you want that safe high floor with some possibility for ceiling, it'd be Zeke. All right. See where I was at question-wise. Hopefully I can find my spot. All right. It looks like I may have been on Big Meech. Yep. Half PPR. Running back, receiver, flex, Waddle, Rice, Chandler, Singletary, Montgomery, Sutton, and Devontae. All right. So I'm 1-1-1. Running back. Let's see what we got here. I'm going to go Montgomery. He has the safest floor of the group. Singletary has a bad matchup, and Montgomery can always find the end zone. I'm going to go with him. Your receiver and your flex. We're going to go Waddle and Rice. Waddle and Rice. They both have good floors. They both have ceiling potential. Sutton, I'm worried that Belichick takes him out. Devontae, the targets tend to go down a bit when Goddard's back. And then Chandler, I'm just worried about the matchup. Michael, PPR, full PR. Jacobs, you have what? Good. So you got either one of them, Saquon or Chandler. So you're going to sit Chandler here, I think. The matchup's horrible. Saquon is a bad matchup too. But again, sitting a superstar, we've seen it. He's gone off in tough matchups. Doesn't always, but I think you can't go down saying I started Chandler over Saquon. If you lose because of that, I think you'd kick yourself, and you don't want to do that. So I'm going to go with the Raiders back and then Saquon. Max, Browns or Bears, D? On paper, the Bears have a great matchup. The Browns are on the road, not always as good, but they're facing a backup quarterback. Nico's banged up. It's really hard to sit the Browns because we know at any week they can just bring it. The Bears on paper are a better one, so if your guts is Bears, I get it. On principle, I'm not sitting the Browns. You have that quarterback. Heard me and Mario concerned about it's Zach Martin. That's the thing we don't know about Zach Martin. That's a big one. Tyron Smith is out, and they've dealt with that before. They've dealt with it, but it's a Zach Martin one. But he's a game time call, and they didn't rule him out. They ruled out Tyron Smith. So that's the interesting there. So it's a tough call. Flacco. If the game ends up being low scoring, I might not need him a lot. I'd struggle to sit Dak in this one, and I know the road struggles. I still think they get the ball out quickly. I think Flacco's throwing so many times, but if they get ahead, they might not need him. I get it, and it makes sense, but I'd still be too worried to pull the trigger on that to sit Dak in this big of a game and just take a chance. The probability swing leans to Prescott. John, Cooks or Michael Wilson? Wilson probably sees a lot of Jalen Johnson. That scares me, so I don't like that. Cooks, Miami limits explosives, but at the end of the day, I'm going to go with the better player. I'm going to go Cooks. See my goal. Need upside flex. Metcalf or Walker? Man, that's a tough one. They both have upside. They both have great upside. They both have great floors. More bankable volume with the running back. There's a better chance that Seattle has a lead and they don't have to throw as much. So that gives Walker a 51-49 edge. Denver, Chicago, or Indy. Can't go wrong with Denver or Chicago. Both are in great spots. Probably go with Denver. But Chicago or Denver, flip a coin on that one. You answered that one for you already. Mullins or Flacco? Oh, man, that's a tough one. Mullins has more upside. Mullins has more downside. If he turns into Nick Mullins, you're in trouble. Flacco, I think, is a safer one. He'll get you a baseline of points. But if you need a big game, I think Mullins is more likely, but he's more likely to crap out too. So if you need a huge game, Mullins, but you're risking floor. If you want that floor base and just, let everybody else win your game, it's Flacco. George, sit one. Roshan, Chandler, Devontae Smith. Chandler has a brutal matchup. Roshan, we never know what his role is going to be because they probably don't need to pass protect against Arizona. They probably won't be in hurry-up mode. I'm going to give Chandler a 51-49 edge over Roshan. So I would sit Roshan. If your gut says Roshan over Chandler, I get it. Jeff, happy fun day Sunday. Bijan or Henry. If you think, like I do, that Seattle could blow out Tennessee, then Henry gets game scripted out. If you think Tennessee keeps it close, then Henry's your play because he'd be relevant and you can run on them. I think Bijan has a safer floor. I think he's involved regardless of game script. But Henry, again, if they somehow keep that game close, but the Tennessee defense is decimated. So I think Seattle could score a lot. I would lean Bijan. But again, if you think Tennessee keeps it close, then Henry stays in the game and he could do well. All right. Rob, Hockenson or McBride? I think McBride is a higher floor. And they both have similar ceilings. McBride is like the number one in that offense. And they're going to trail probably. And that's probably the best place to attack Chicago right now. I'm going to go McBride for the floor. But you can't go wrong with either. Hubbard, Brees, or Ridley. The floor play is Hubbard, like guaranteed volume. The boom must play is Ridley. If they move him in stacks, get him on the move, he could have a big game, but he also could have that 3 for 20. So Hubbard's your floor play, high floor. If you need to go swing for the fence, then it's Ridley. Mike Ferguson, Javonte, Dobbs, or Spears in the flex. I think Ferguson is the safest of these. Javonte, bad matchup. Again, he's going to get volume, but Ferguson to me is the best matchup. If you think that Tennessee is going to get blown up by Seattle, Spears could catch a lot of passes. So there's that. But I'm going to lean Ferguson. Achane or Godwin. Godwin's been on fire lately, and really nothing scary with Jacksonville right now. Darius Williams is playing well corner for them, but Godwin's better, and he's playing well. Godwin has a higher floor. Achane's your boom bust play. If you want to swing for defense, if he can crack Dallas's D with the speed, then it works. Otherwise, Dallas could slow him down. So boom bust, but otherwise, Godwin's your safe floor play. He's doing well. Unite, pick Laporta, McBride, or Connor. The best floor of these is still McBride. I love Connor. Connor's a tough matchup, and he's been getting it done. McBride in half PPR, he's going to catch you 6-7 passes, maybe a little bit more. And I think that gives him the edge. And they both have a similar chance. Laporta may have the most upside of the group. McBride's the safest, but has similar upside to Laporta. That's why I kind of lean his way. Rich, Addison or Waddle? It's more likely that Waddle's a bigger part of the game plan than Addison. So I lean Waddle. Chandler or Aaron Jones? Yeah, it's a tough one. Aaron Jones in theory, has a much better matchup. Chandler, it's a nightmare matchup. I'm going to give Aaron Jones a slight edge here. He's going to split work with Dillon, but I think Madison's going to get some touches too in this game. So I'm going to give Aaron Jones the edge. Coop Town, Jacobs or Devontae Smith. If Jacobs is active, it's Jacobs. If he's not, then. But if Jacobs is active, it's Jacobs. And you'll know that because they're both Monday games, and the Vegas game is first. So you're good there. Lawrence, Mullins, or Flacco. Lawrence is your floor play. He has a solid floor here. It's a good matchup. The swing for defense play is Mullins. If he turns into Nick Mullins, you're in trouble. But the matchup is beautiful, and if he goes off, he goes off. So he is very volatile. If you want volatile, it's Mullins. If you want safe and reliable with a great floor, it's Lawrence. Matt, I think I answered your question. All right. T Flips. Nico Collins or Jordan Addison need to get this right. Look, Collins didn't have a full practice. Love Nico Collins, superstar, right? But he hasn't had a full practice. 45% man from Cleveland with excellent corners and a backup quarterback. I can't trust the injury. If it's a calf, it's like Joe Burrow had, right? I don't know if it's the same one, but if that calf flares up and he's out, you got a 0. For that reason, I got to go with Jordan Addison. Your boom bust play is Collins. Collins is a great player. If he keeps the calf good, great. But that's very, very risky with a backup quarterback and Cleveland bringing heat. So I think Addison is safe. But if you got to swing for defense, I get it with Collins. Matthew. Singletary has more bankable volume. They both have tougher matchups here. I think Chandler sees more reception opportunities. But again, Detroit's been very good against receiving backs. Singletary is more likely to get all the work than Chandler because Madison is supposed to play in some capacity. I give Singletary a 55-45 edge over Chandler for that reason. Heidi, Jets or the Bears defense? Yeah, you know what? The Bears are great at home, but Washington Commanders are down their left tackle and their center, so I'm going with the Jets for that reason. Ken, Drake London, Jordan Addison, Ty Chandler. Drake London's been money at home other than week 1. It's like 5 games, 67 minimum yards. I'm giving London the edge, and I don't think the Taylor Heineke thing is any change from Desmond Ridder. So I got to give Drake London at home the edge. He's just been a dog at home. Harrison, Downs or Noah Brown? Yeah, I worry about Noah Brown against the Cleveland man coverage here in a backup quarter. I know last week he got it done. I get it, but Cleveland's a different animal, right? Josh Downs, though, struggling with that knee injury since OTAs. Then he aggravated it and missed a little time. Then since he's come back, he hasn't done anything. Downs has a little higher of a floor because we've seen 2 goose eggs from Noah Brown in the last 3 weeks. So Downs has a higher floor, not much. But a Noah Brown is your boom bust play because maybe they figure it out again and they can outdo the Cleveland defense. And probably not. That's your boom bust play. But Downs is a little safer for floor. Tom, Monty is like 10 to 13 points in the last 4 games. Not a great matchup, but he should continue that bankable volume. Hubbard, great volume. The matchup's not terrible. It's going to be really hard to sit Monty, but Hubbard gets more volume. So Hubbard, in theory, has a higher floor. Montgomery has a better chance of multiple touchdowns. So at the end of the day, I'm going to go with the better player in Montgomery. But if your gut says Hubbard, roll with it. Harrison, because unless there's word that Josh Jacobs, before Aaron Jones game that kicks off in 24 minutes, if we don't hear that Josh Jacobs, any word on him, assume he's out. All right, 24 minutes of kickoff. How am I doing on questions? All right, this I literally, no analysis, just answer, so you can get your things done before kickoff. All right. Big Meech, Singletary. Ryan, Herbert, Wicks, Curtis Samuel. Max, happy holidays. Fermin, Jones, Zeke, or Chandler? Zeke. Jeff, Chandler or Javonte Williams? Chandler. Javonte's a tough matchup. Henry or Bijan? Bijan for floor, Henry for boom bust. Shooksen, Elliott or Hubbard? Similar volume, Elliott. Ramblin' Man, Walker, Swift, or Smith? I believe Walker's healthy. Walker. Antoine, happy holidays. Pittman out. The DJ Montgomery took over the 1-to-1 role. It's going to be spread out all over the place. It's going to be all spread out. But I do think it's all going to be spread out. Mohamed, Dotson or Downs? Oh, man. Or Douglas. Douglas for sure. And then Downs for a higher floor. Dotson for boom bust. John, Cooks. Bosch. Herbert's in a good spot here. Yes. Dane Walker. Funny. Keep Chandler in your lineup, or do I take yours, put Jacobs in? The assumption right now is he's not playing. And because of that, unless you could pick up Zamir White on waivers or somebody in a Monday game, you have to play Chandler. Can't take a 0. Spears, Flowers, or Samuel? Flowers worried about the injury. Curtis Samuel. Great matchup for in the middle. Would I bench Saquon or Hall for Zeke? I would bench Hall for Zeke, yes. Irish. Worth plugging in Spears or Ford over Gibbs and Njoku and McBride? No, would not. Spears, you're hoping there's a blowout, but we can't predict that with certainty. We're going with the Browns over the Eagles. Ramblin' Man. Flacco. Lawrence is safer. But if you want the volatility, Flacco. King. Happy holidays. I'm going to go with Waller in the easy matchup. JSN's been money, but Waller played limited snaps. He should play more this week. All right, we already told you on that one. It's going to be Addison. Gilberto, let's get in the money today. All right, hopefully you got a question after. Let's see if I got any super chat questions I didn't cover here. I might have a super chat question here. I might have 2 of them. Hang on. NUGXS asks, this is a super chat question. Kelsey, Laporta, McBride, or Waddle? McBride for the floor ceiling combo. Kelsey should have a really high floor here. I'm going to give those 2 the edge for floor. If you want to swing for the fence for like this boom bust thing, you could consider sitting McBride for Waddle, but I'd play Kelsey and McBride both have floor and ceiling combo. And then we have I think it's Dawit on the super chat, Dawit, Wicks or Jacoby Myers. Myers got it done early, but then the Chiefs shut him down last time. I'm going to give Wicks the slight edge here. All right. Let's see where I was at on question-wise. All right, and then we got Connor or Chandler. I'm going with the better player in Connor. Goff, Geno, or Baker. I think Geno has best blend of floor and upside. Oracle, Bijan or Chandler. I hate Chandler's matchup. I'm going with Bijan. Aaron Jones or Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker, good matchup. I assume he's healthy here. Hocker, McBride. McBride has a higher floor, so I'm going with him. Zeke or Henry. I'm worried that the Titans get blown out, so I'm going with Zeke. If your gut says Henry, roll with it. JT's been money from PPR 3 games in a row. No reason to bench him here. Can't ever sit Kittle. You never know in the bad games, but the ceiling game's always there. Hubbard, Brees, or Ridley. Hubbard for floor, Ridley for boom bust. Scott, Bears or Broncos. 50-50 coin flip on that one. I might go to the Broncos. John, Cooks or Michael Wilson. Going with Cooks. I'm worried about the Jalen Johnson matchup. Liang, Gus or Singletary. I'm going to go with Gus there. Tig, don't miss. Aaron Jones or Chuba Hubbard. Hubbard has a higher floor. Aaron Jones is your boom bust play because this is a game he could go off, but he hasn't done it. So if you want the boom bust, it's Jones. Otherwise, Hubbard. Kevin, London, Addison, Chandler. London at home has been money. Highest floor. Addison's your boom bust play. JJ, GLB. Edwards, Parker, Washington, Roshan, Smith, in Jigba. The best floor play is Smith and Jigba. The boom bust play is Washington. Great matchup, but he's Parker, Washington. We answered that for you already. Happy holidays, Kevin. Matthew, Singletary, Reed, Montgomery, or Chandler. Montgomery 1, Reed 2, Singletary 3, Chandler 4. Thomas, Ingram or McBride. Both are excellent plays. McBride is the safest play on the board. Ingram should be heavily involved, and it's a great matchup. Ingram has monumental upside, but they go away from him sometimes. Anyway, McBride's safest, but Ingram has the bigger upside, so go think that. Brian Upton, thank you for being here. Again, if you hit the like and subscribe button, that'd be awesome. Rich, Addison, or Waddle. Similar floor. Give me Waddle for the ceiling. Henry or Bijan. I'm going with Bijan. Henry's boom bust. Julian, Spears, Flowers, or Curtis Samuel. Worried about Flowers' toe or foot injury. Give me Curtis Samuel. Randy, Wicks or Parker, Washington. Jaden Reed's been ruled out. Oh, thank you. Good to hear. I'm going to go with Parker, Washington here, though. Washington. Man, it's 50-50. Wicks is safer. Washington has more boom bust. That's what I'm going to say. Wicks is safer. I got to get through these fast. So you guys got a kickoff coming up here. Dale, Taylor, Pollard, Zeke, Hockenson, McBride. I'll order them this way. Taylor 1, Zeke 2, McBride 3, Pollard 4, Hockenson 5. Irish, Irish, give me like a real simple question. I can't navigate all that and try to answer. I'm happy to answer you. Just dump it down and I'll get to you. All right, impossible. So you need 4 of these guys. So I will order them. Cooper, Amon-Ra 1 and 2, Pacheco 3, and Bijan 4. All right. So it's Cooper, Amon-Ra, Pacheco, and Bijan. Addison is a safer floor ceiling combo. Addison. Merry Christmas, Krana. PPR Wicks, Douglas, or Alec Pierce. I will give Douglas as the safest floor. Wicks is a real close number 2. I think Wicks is a higher ceiling. So boom bust is Wicks, and then Douglas is a safe play. I'm leaving Alec Pierce out of that one. Andre, Brees, Chandler, or Walker. I'm going Walker, and I'm going with Brees Hall for the receptions. Gibbs, Bijan, or Brees Hall. I am going with Gibbs and Bijan over this one. The floors are safer. Goff or Fields. Fields is a great matchup. His floor has to be with Goff's. I'm going to go with Fields. Hubbard or Jacobs. Yeah, you can't take a 0. You just can't take a 0. You got to go with Hubbard. Eli. JT, Henry, Rashad White, Mostert, Hubbard, and Zeke. JT, Rashad White cannot sit him. And then Zeke for floor or Raheem Mostert over Zeke for the boom bust play. But definitely go with Henry and White. I'm worried that go with JT and White. Zeke for floor, Mostert for boom bust for the last spot. Henry, I'm worried they get blown out. Andre, Brees, Chandler, Swift, Walker need 3. We are going with Walker, Swift, and Brees Hall. I don't like Chandler's matchup. Robin, standard, Dak or Purdy. I think Purdy's safer. I'm going to go Purdy because he's safer here. Oh, I got some super chat. Hang on a second here. Jeff Mullis, a super chat question. Ridley or Waddle, PPR. Waddle's floor is safer. I'm going with the safe floor. All right. Brian, can't decide on Rashee Rice or DK. The volume has been better for Rice. Rice has a higher floor. DK has a higher ceiling. So if you want to risk floor for ceiling, it's DK. Otherwise, a safe high floor play is Rashee. Daniel, I would go with Wicks over Pierce. Gilberto, I would go with Walker, safer floor. Kenneth Walker or Zeke. I love Kenneth Walker. Everybody's injured on Tennessee. I go with Kenneth Walker. I love Zeke too. Trust your gut on that one. Ryan, Pittman, and you had Parker or Khalil Herbert? Khalil Herbert. I'm worried about Patrick Surtain being on Parker sometimes. Walker Jones, I answered that for you. Mike, I trust Lawrence's floor, and I trust Chandler's floor over Roshan. Roshan needs game script to work. If your gut says Roshan, go with it. Andy, you need to sit one Barkley, Walker, or Taylor? Oh, man. I'm probably sitting Barkley in that situation. I hate to sit Barkley, but that's what I would do. Chandler or Nico Collins? I'm worried about Nico having a setback. Nico's boom bust. Chandler's a safer floor. I probably played a safe floor play, but I'm worried about the injury with him. Wicks over McLaurin. McLaurin is a bad matchup, but I would probably still start McLaurin. Trust your gut on that one. Montgomery or Devontae Smith? Montgomery is much safer. I'm going to go with Montgomery. Wicks, Ford, or Roshan? Roshan's your boom bust guy. Wicks is your high floor guy. I'd start the floor guy Wicks, but if you want to go boom bust, it's Roshan. Wicks or Addison? I'm going with Addison. Floors are similar, but Addison has higher ceiling. Dak or Purdy? I'm going with Purdy. Safer floor. Slung, start 1-1. Jacobs, Flowers, Wicks. Wicks, and then if Jacobs is active, you're starting him. If Jacobs is inactive, you got to default to Flowers. And that's because of the injuries. We don't know the status of the players. Dak or Fields? I'm going with Fields. Fields is a super floor. Is a great matchup. Brandon, due to a bunch of injuries, are Roshan or Herbert? I'm going with Herbert over Roshan. I think his role's more secure. I'm going with Thielen over Noah Brown. Middle of the field's easy against Green Bay. Hunter, Adams, Amon-Ra, DJ. All right, what do we got here? What two running backs? All right, what running? So you got Kyron, who you already should have played. I would play JT over Mostert. Happy holidays to you too. Pick one. Edwards, Washington, Roshan, Smith, and Jigba. I think I answered this for you already. Smith and Jigba is the floor play. Parker, Washington's a boom bust play. Fabian, Flacco, or Baker? That's a coin flip for sure. I'm going to give Flacco the slight edge here in an easy passing matchup game. Simp, I would not trust Monty over Ridley over Monty. No, Monty's more trusted for the floor. Ridley has more upside though, but he's very risky. Connor, London. London's been money at home. Go with London. Browns or Broncos defense. On paper, it's the Broncos. I just fundamentally don't sit the Browns. Gut call on that one. Andy, half PPR, Mostert, Gibbs, Taylor, and Elliott. We are going. How many do you need here? I'll put them in order for you. Taylor 1, Gibbs 2, Elliott 3. Mostert's your boom bust, who could play over any of them for boom bust, but he has a lower floor. Kelsey or Laporta. I think Kelsey has a higher floor, so I'll go with the floor play. Monty or Chandler. I'm going with Monty for the high floor. Enough said. Achane or Ingram. Ingram has a high floor in this one, most likely, but trusting a tight end is always tough, but I do give Ingram the edge. He doesn't listen to bad news. Merry Christmas Eve to you. You need 3. Hawk, Bijan, Ridley, Brees, Hubbard, Zeke, Godwin. All right, you need 3 of these. I'm going to go with Zeke for a volume. I'm going with Hubbard for volume. And Godwin's been hot lately. I want to play Godwin. If you don't trust Godwin, then pivot off to Bijan. Jay Golub, Crystal Ball, been 5 weeks running. Oh, man, yes. I'm going with the better player in this one. I'm going with Connor. Connor's been out playing well. Tough matchup, but they both have tough matchups. Tua or Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield hasn't always had good yardage. Tua should have a safer floor. I'm going to go with the floor play. If you want the boom bust, it's Mayfield. Enough said. I don't trust Nico's calf injury. I got to go with Myers because of the calf injury. If you think the calf injury is okay, you could go with him. Nico Collins higher ceiling. Dak or Fields, we're going with Fields. Michael, I'm going Zeke over Hubbard. Chad, Metcalf, Rice, Devontae Smith, or Sutton. You need 1. I'm going with Metcalf here for the floor ceiling combo. He's a great matchup. Wicks or Addison? Addison. Julian Spears Flower. I'm going with Samuel. Dan, I'm going with Addison for the higher floor. Chandler's a bad matchup. Julian, I answered you already. Don, Addison or Chandler? I'm going with Addison. I think you asked that too. Chandler or JSN? That's close. Half PPR, we get Chandler to slight edge. JSN has a little more upside. It's easier boom bust. Cooks or Wilson? I'm going with Cooks. Andre, Mullins or Flacco? For the upside, it's Mullins. He's the upside play. He has floor, but he has upside. Cooks, Pierce or Wilson? Going with Cooks. Not a good matchup, but I like him there. A Singletary, Barkley, or Nico. We're going with Barkley here. Got to go with the superstar. Goff or Lawrence. We're going with Lawrence. McBride or Laporta. McBride is a higher floor. All right, that's what I'm looking at. Scott, good to see you, man. Lockett or Wicks. Merry Christmas to you as well. Lockett hasn't been looking great, but he should get volume from Geno. I'm going to give Lockett the slight edge. I love Wicks too. Gut call on that, but I'm going to give Lockett the edge. Quincy, Zeke, Zay Flowers, Noah Brown. I'm worried about Zay Flowers' injury. I'm going to give Zeke the edge here. Hopkins or Collins? Hopkins is healthy. Collins isn't. No full price. I'm going with Hopkins. Cameron, Devontae or Montgomery? Montgomery's safer. Devontae has more a lower floor and a higher ceiling. So you want boom bust, it's Devontae. You want the floor, it's Monty. Cody, Barkley or Chan? I'm going with Barkley. Going with the superstar here. Josh, good morning. Henry or Connor? If you think Tennessee gets blown up like Seattle, like I do, then it's Connor. If you think Tennessee keeps the game close, it's Henry. But otherwise, I do think they get blown out here. That's got to be your decision on that. Noah Brown, or I got to go with Lockett. 2 goose eggs in the last 3 for Brown. It's a lot of man coverage here. London or Nico? Don't trust Nico's calf still. No full practice. I'm going with London at home. He always does well. Brown, Wicks, Ford. I am going with Wicks and Ford for the floor here. Need a kicker. I'm terrible with kickers. It's all luck, so I'm sorry. Just go to the rankings like on whatever site you're on and take the highest ranked kicker. Aaron Jones, James Conner, Ty Chandler. Hard to trust Jones. I am going to go with Connor. He's playing really well. Martin, you're welcome. Matt, pick 2. Amon-Ra, Debo, and DK. Oh, my gosh, that's impossible. Impossible. I would sit DK, but they all could go off. I don't – there's not one that's better than they're all, like, right there. I would sit DK in that case. Thank you, Andrea. Collins or Wicks. Again, if you're risking the Collins with the injury, but he's boom bust because of that. But otherwise, Wicks is safer, but Collins has a chance to go off. Addison over Wicks. Jordan need 2 and 2 flex and a receiver. Walker's in, Amari's in, and Hubbard's in. I don't trust Nico right now with the injury. Zabby, number 1 seed. Number 8. Let's see who's the only player. Oh, man. Addison or Waddle. I'm going to go with Waddle. I think his ceiling's higher. Downs or Ford? I don't trust Downs right now. It doesn't seem healthy. I'm going to go with Ford. Collins or London? London's healthy and he's at home. I trust him. Pollard or Chuba? Chuba has a safer floor, but Pollard has a similar floor. I'm going to give Pollard the edge here. Addison or Achane? Addison's your floor play. Achane's your boom bust play. If you want the higher ceiling, it's Achane, but he has a lower floor. Scott, again, if you think Tennessee gets blown out, then it's Singletary. If you think that Tennessee keeps the game close, it's Henry. It really banks on that. All right. Health thing, Addison over Wicks. 50-50 on that one. DK has more ceiling. Rice has a higher floor. The floor plays Rice. The ceiling play with the risk is DK. Oh, man. I can't sit Jalen Hurts. Just can't sit Jalen Hurts. I love Fields. Fields get 35 points today, but I can't sit Hurts. Barkley or Chandler? I'm going with Barkley. Go with the superstar. Jets or Denver News? I'm going to 2 linemen out for Washington. Go with the Jets. Again, the 1-to-1 replacement with DJ Montgomery. Oh, man. Cameron, it's a tough one. I'm going to go with Mullins. I think Kyler's in trouble at Chicago. I'm going to go with Fields over Dak easily. Answer that. Or Pierre, I think we answered that for you already. We're going Hurts. Answer that for you. Chris, would I consider Wicks over McLaurin? It's tough to sit a superstar. It's a bad matchup. I get it. It's hard to sit McLaurin. All right, let me see if I get through these. Austin, Singletary, Chandler, Roshan. Singletary's the safest. Chandler's your boom bust. Start 1. Parker Washington from that group. Adams, Gibbs, or DJ Moore. I will sit Gibbs in this one. Mullins or Flacco. Mullins is your boom bust play. Flacco has a higher floor, depending what you want. London over Collins. Flacco or Mullins. Mullins your boom bust. Flacco's the floor play. Lockett, Downs, Wicks, Beckham, or Roshan. We are going with Lockett as the best floor ceiling combo. Curtis Samuel, Chargy. Merry Christmas. Adam, going to play Jefferson and Taylor here. DK's close. Andrea, happy holidays. Thank you. Dak or Lamar. I'm going to go with Lamar for the running. I'm going to go with Barkley for David Volland. I'm going with London for 101 Dozer. I'm going with Geno Smith in a great matchup. Smith starting on Monday. Smith is fine. 50-50 on that one. Both are great plays. 50-50, but go with your gut on that one. The way you have it, you can let Smith start on Monday, I think. We are going with Spears because I think they trail on this one. Devontae Smith because he's healthy. Hubbard for volume. London over Addison for the floor. At home, he's been great. Tyreek continue to choose between Dak and Rashee Rice. Oh, DK. Rice is a higher floor. DK has a higher ceiling, but a lower floor. So if you want the floor, it's Rice. Otherwise, the boom bust is DK. Captain Ingram, Pollard, Hall, Amari Cooper. Cooper for sure. And Ingram. I'm going to go with those right there. I think they have great spots there. Third would be Pollard for you if you need a third one. John Brown. I'm going with Ferguson over Likely. Lee. I'm going with DeMario Douglas. ACS, I'm going with the Bears. I'm going with Njoku. We answered your question already. Addison or take a chance on Tyreek. I would go with Tyreek and then Cooks is your pivot. Yes. London over Nico because he's healthy and he's at home. Godwin because Nico's not healthy all the way. Douglas, Wandaler. Douglas, he's safest. He's the safest. Dawit. Oh, okay. Cooped Whitson. Waddle safer. Komet or Goddard. Go with the better player in Goddard. Both are in good situations here. Njoku for the floor. And then go with the Bears over the Colts, ACS. James, Gibson, Cooks, or Justice Hill. I'm going to give Gibson the edge for 5 catches here. Barkley, Godwin, or Nico. I'm going with the superstar Barkley. Ridley or Waddle. I trust Waddle more. He's safer. Nico or Godwin. I'm going with Godwin because he's healthy. Bijan over ETN for Salkill. Admiral, you're welcome. Kells, Jordan Love, Flacco, or Mullins pick 2. Love for sure. Flacco for floor or sub Mullins over Flacco for boom bust. Scott, Jaden Reed out. All right, got you. Thanks. Jones or I'm going Monty for safety. Going Barkley and Kenneth Walker because we don't know if Jacobs is playing. ACS answered you already. James, go ahead and do that. Pick up Mason for insurance. Madden, I'm sure we're up against kickoff. You know what? I don't think we're going to be able to get to these because you guys have kickoff already. Maybe it's a late game question there. Let's see. I'm going with Lamar over Dak. And I would sub in DJ Moore over Gibbs. Justin Downs, or I go Parker Washington there. I go Barkley over Nico and Godwin Travis. Ed Seat, I'm going with Kenneth Walker over Chuba. J Red, Merry Christmas. We're going with Ferguson over Kraft. Jeff, the Broncos, do you have papers better? I would like the Browns because they're superstars on defense. We'll go with Lawrence for the floor. Cooper, then Elliott, then Pollard. Inexorable way. Washington. All right. We're going to Montgomery 1, Chandler 2, Ford 3. I'm going with Singletary over Chandler. Going with Barkley over Jones. Answered that for you already. Parker Washington over Pierce. Bears defense playing great at home. Connor over Jones and Downs. Oh, good. Same question a few times. All right, you spam me there. All right. If you think Tennessee gets blown out, it's going to be Chandler over Henry. Going with Samuel over your other options. Going with Hopkins in this group. Going with Devontae Adams for safety. Going with Swift for the high floor. And we're good. All right.